Chapter 11:20. He had finally cultivated the Yellow Springs Blood Sea to a stage where he could control it. Even Law was certain. His next step was to immediately find the Thousand Flows ancient demon Tao right. With so many experts appearing, he had to be faster. Buzz. Just as he was about to leave this abyss, Wooling Goblin and Ting Ba returned to his body. Just as he released his grand perfection ability to sense this abyss world, he suddenly felt a slight response from the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique. What was going on? Strange. He had just released his senses, but there was already a reaction. He immediately flew through the air, passing through layers of spatial turbulence and some poisonous gas. All kinds of natural barriers prevented cultivators from sensing their surroundings. However, to Su Fong, he could sense at least 5 kilometers away. What a familiar aura! As he got closer to that aura, the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique's Tao runes in his mind suddenly condensed into 2 figures. Not only were the 2 figures familiar, but the aura itself was also somewhat familiar to Su Fong. It was as if he had come into contact with that aura before. As he got closer, the Tao runes in his mind became clearer. Within the Tao runes, within the void destiny divine ability, Su Fong actually saw the incomparably familiar figures of the Lord of 5 Poisons and Li Haojie. The Lord of 5 Poisons. Li Haojie. What was going on? Su Fong had always wanted to visit the White Cloud Immortal Palace in the Yuan Fortune Great World one day to see the 2 of them. Could it be that they had also come to the desolate swamp astral realm? As he got closer, the familiar aura became even more familiar. He could also sense that this aura was hidden very mysteriously. After passing through many abysses and canyons, as well as layers of star fog, he finally used his grand perfection ability to see a cave on a cliff in the middle of the star fog. He saw a trembling woman hiding there. A woman? Could it be that they had interacted before? Su Fong slowed down. The other party was very strong, at least as strong as an elder. Gradually, he heard the other party's breathing and aura. He felt that she should be severely injured, and there was some poisonous gas in her body. Not only was she injured, but she was also poisoned. This aura belongs to the Nirvana Tranquil Heart sect. The other party is an expert from the Nirvana Tranquil Heart sect, but I have never come into contact with the Nirvana Tranquil Heart sect. They were about 2.5 kilometers apart. At this distance, Su Fong would have been able to sense more of the other party's aura if not for the jet of air. However, he now knew that the woman in front of him was from the Brahma Meditation sect of the Yuan Lu Great World. Why would the disciples of the Brahma Meditation sect have the aura of Li Haojie and the Lord of 5 Poisons? Su Fong, who was concentrating, suddenly sensed a force from the star fog on the right side of the abyss. It was also spying on the woman hiding in the cave. Just as he realized this, the sensing force suddenly sped up. Chi. A gray-white figure led another gray-white figure towards the woman hiding on the cliff like lightning. Furthermore, they shot out 2 flying swords towards the woman hiding on the cliff. The killing intent could instantly kill that woman. Fortunately, the woman also seemed to have realized that something was wrong. As she dodged, the 2 flying swords almost flew past her shoulders, causing the cliff she was hiding in to collapse. Fairly, you bitch. Now that you've met me, Bai Tsubing, you still have a chance to live. The 2 figures suddenly attacked. They had already prepared a move. 2 waves of poisonous flames turned into a 100-meter-long wave that blocked the escape of the woman. Bai Tsubing. It would have been better if he had not heard the other party's voice. Su Fong's nerves suddenly tensed up. It was truly a small world. The desolate swamp star realm was so big, yet he had met Bai Tsubing in this abyss. Fairy Li is from the Brahma Meditation sect. This person has the aura of Li Haojie and the Lord of 5 Poisons. He must be related to the White Cloud Immortal Palace or the Bai Hua Immortal Lord. I can't let Bai Tsubing be too complacent. With a wave of his hand, a demonic face appeared on Su Fong's face. At this moment, he was no longer a disciple of the constellation of 9 heavens. Instead, he was an expert who had to survive in this desolate land. The sky above the abyss in front of him had already darkened. The killing aura shattered the surrounding airflow, allowing Su Fang's perception to spread out more clearly. When he saw the woman's appearance, he suddenly realized. He had seen this woman before. Back then, when he had just stepped into the great world with the Lord of 5 Poisons and Li Haojie and was searching for the Jianwu Villa, they had met the expert from the White Cloud Immortal Palace, Bai Hua Immortal Lord, and then a powerful and mysterious woman. That's right. Fairy Li, who was being chased by Bai Tsubing, was that mysterious woman. So she was a disciple of the Brahma meditation sect. Suddenly, he heard Fairy Li's powerless moan from the space in front of him. Bai Tsubing, don't even think about killing me. The Brahma meditation sect will not let you off. Ha, I don't even care about the White Cloud Immortal Palace. So what if you're from the Brahma meditation sect? Although there are experts from the Brahma meditation sect everywhere, you bitch, you've helped that bastard Bai Hua Immortal Lord to deal with me time and time again. If I don't kill you today, I won't be able to vent the hatred in my heart. You really have guts. Go find Bai Hua. Do you think I'm stupid? Bai Hua Immortal Lord and I both cultivated in the White Cloud Immortal Palace. I don't know him well, and I don't have the ability to kill him. I won't find him. Of course, it's impossible for him to find me either. The immortal domain is limitless, and there are dozens of great worlds. If I kill you, how can he find me? Then I'll kill you on behalf of Bai Hua today. Pa. After both sides finished speaking, the auras in the center clashed like lightning and thunder. I didn't expect Bai Tsubing to not only know Bai Hua Immortal Lord, but also be very familiar with him. The immortal domain is big, but it's also very small. Bai Tsubing and Bai Hua Immortal Lord happened to know each other. Su Fangda roughly understood what was going on. He also had a certain understanding of Bai Tsubing's past. Thinking about how vicious and merciless this person was, and how Fairy Li was heavily injured while Bai Tsubing was a poison expert, even if he couldn't kill Fairy Li now, how long could she last in the near future? Senior. At this moment, Su Fang released his primordial spirit in the dark and contacted Fairy Li. Who are you? Fairy Li clearly didn't expect that there would be a fourth person in this abandoned abyss. I'm not Bai Tsubing's subordinate. Senior, have you forgotten that we met once in the past? Su Fang roughly told her what had happened in the past. So it's you. Fairy Li was too shocked and surprised, but she was still very cautious. Activate Bai Hua's rune talisman. I need to confirm if it's you. As expected of a giant. Su Fang did as he was told, activating the rune talisman left behind by Bai Hua Immortal Lord. He only activated it slightly, and Fairy Li told Su Fang to hide his aura. It seemed like she didn't doubt Su Fang's identity at all. He then said, Junior also didn't expect to meet Senior and Bai Tsubing here. Senior, Junior has a way to deal with Bai Tsubing and resolve Senior's predicament. As long as Senior can lure those 2 experts over, Junior can use the sword formation to kill them. Fairy Li's voice transmitted over, still doubtful. Bai Tsubing's cultivation is very strong, especially when it comes to poison. This is the reason why all cultivators are afraid of him. You can use the sword formation to deal with him. When you released your aura just now, I can sense that you're only in the heavenly immortal realm. How do you plan to deal with him? Why don't you activate Bai Hua's rune talisman and use Bai Hua's aura to scare him away? Will it work? Bai Hua is stronger than him. Once his aura is transmitted, it will be effective. Senior, hold on for a while longer. It seemed like experts had many methods. Su Fang wanted to fight Bai Tsubing directly with his strength. Wouldn't it be better if he could scare Bai Tsubing away? He immediately retreated. After hiding his aura, he used Bai Hua Immortal Lord's rune talisman to activate traces of his aura. One of them was like a sword light, exploding in another void. In less than 3 breaths, he heard the sounds of fighting in front of him weaken. He then heard Bai Tsubing's shocked voice. Bai Hua, that bastard really came. Bai Tsubing, I think there's something wrong with your head. This time, our sect and the 3 great dojos are having a training session. Will White Cloud Immortal Palace not come? If Bai Hua comes, you'll be slaughtered. Although I'm afraid of Bai Hua, it won't be easy for him to kill me. Then you just wait. I know. In this desolate swamp, even if you ask Bai Hua for help, he won't be able to find you so quickly. You must have used some method to scare me away. Then you just wait for Bai Hua to come and deal with you. I'm afraid of him. He thought that Bai Tsubing would fall for it. However, he didn't expect that Bai Tsubing, who was initially frightened, would be seen through later on. He continued to pester Fairy Li with the other expert. Su Fang transmitted his voice again. Senior, Bai Tsubing is very cunning. Let's just follow my plan. I also didn't expect Bai Tsubing to be so much stronger than before. It seems like he has obtained many treasures in this desolate swamp astral world. You have to be careful. Not only does this person have a strange poison, but he also has an ancient rare treasure. His fusion level is also very high. I understand. Senior, wait for me to make a move and then fly over. After speaking, Su Fang retreated a little more until he was sure that Bai Tsubing couldn't sense the commotion here. Bai Tsubing had an ancient rare treasure. He wasn't easy to deal with. 18 experts silently appeared in the surroundings. Each of them was close to Nangong 2's strength or had the strength of Nangong 2's. Although there was still a gap between them and Bai Tsubing, the combined strength of the 18 experts could definitely suppress him. Hiding in the surroundings, the experts condensed their sword intents and hid their heartless flying swords in the vicinity according to their sword seals. 10 breaths later, Su Fang hurriedly transmitted a thought. Senior. Whoosh. Instantly, a Xian Guang wave came from the front. This wave shattered the surrounding poison gas. Fairy Li activated a bracelet which released a tricolored Xian Guang. It seemed to have 3 different abilities. After intertwining with Fairy Li's true qi, it condensed into 3 shocking auras, blocking Bai Tsubing and the other experts' pursuit. The importance of a transcendent artifact to a cultivator could be seen. Bitch, where are you running to? You are helping Bai Hua deal with me time and time again. Bai Tsubing continuously released poison gas from behind. Fairy Li's true qi had a very natural feeling. Furthermore, her divine ability had reached the pinnacle of the heavenly Tao. It was clearly different from Bai Tsubing's. This was the difference between a major faction and a rogue cultivator. It's coming. Su Fang, who was on the side of the rock, held his breath and stared at Fairy Li as she flew into the ambush area of the 18 experts. When she passed by and waited for Bai Tsubing and the other expert to arrive, Su Fang suddenly formed a seal and leaped out like a fierce tiger fighting for food. Senior. An astonishing magma palm print smashed into the poisonous gas behind Fairy Li. Bai Tsubing laughed eerily. So someone saved you, and it's a Huayan Shinrikyo expert. Rise. Su Fang protected the heavily injured Fairy Li and turned to face the 2 experts. Just as Bai Tsubing revealed a look of disdain, a meteor-like sword qi suddenly flew in the surroundings and pounced on the 2 like a giant beast. Dang dang dang. In an instant, the 2 were trapped in the sword formation. The sword qi clashed with the 2 experts, and the sound of metal clashing became more and more ear-piercing. It turned out that Bai Tsubing and the other expert had been using their transcendent artifacts to defend themselves. No wonder the sudden attack of the sword formation did not harm the 2 at all. Chapter 11:21. As Su Fang expected, the 2 experts were trapped within the sword formation and could no longer pose much of a threat. Fairy Li took a deep breath and swallowed a pill. There were some poison spots on her body. She did not care about her injuries and controlled a flying sword. She stared at the sword formation with Su Fang and suddenly exclaimed, In just a few hundred years, I did not expect you to grow from an ordinary cultivator to such a height. You are even able to reach my level. I am only using other methods to strengthen myself. Su Fang was also on guard against Bai Tsubing's sudden attack. These 18 people are all very powerful. You are able to make them listen to you and control them. This is your ability. Senior, you should rest first. I don't think we can kill Bai Tsubing now. Scaring him away is the best plan. Once he leaves, I will help you expel the poison. After giving a few instructions, Su Fang approached the sword formation alone. Arriving at the sword formation, the 18 experts floated around. They were like killing gods, controlling the emotionless flying swords. The surroundings were filled with the sound of the flying swords flying through the air and the aura of the sword chi. Clashing sounds could be heard from within. The sword chi and the sword formation were constantly changing their attack. Even the emotionless flying swords would sneak up on them from time to time. Su Fang slowly saw through the sword formation. Bai Tsubing indeed had an ancient treasure. He could probably deal with the sword formation before, but now he was in a difficult situation. After all, the emotionless flying swords were also an ancient treasure. Bai Tsubing had a bead in his hand. It was emerald green and carried a dark aura. This bead was actually a supreme-grade Dao artifact, and an ancient treasure at that. The aura it emitted was very harmful. Even with Bai Tsubing's cultivation, he could not truly control it. The bead released a divine aura. This aura could cause magic treasures to be suppressed by gravity when they attacked. Then, their attacks and speed would be greatly reduced. Therefore, with this magic treasure to deal with the surrounding attacks, any attacks from the sword formation would suddenly lose a certain amount of divine aura when they approached Bai Tsubing. Then, he would control another flying sword and destroy them. No matter how many attacks came, they would not be able to match the power of the flying sword in his hand. Suddenly, Su Fang felt that this scene was hard to resolve. This magic treasure is not bad. With such an ability, doesn't this mean that any magic treasure or ability would not be a threat to Bai Tsubing? That's not necessarily true. Suddenly, Law spoke in his body. When Su Fang had the 18 experts continue to trap Bai Tsubing, Law spoke again. Magical treasures are supportive to cultivators, but they are not omnipotent. Look at that bead, it is indeed powerful. Divine abilities and flying swords are affected when they get close. However, if it is the physical body, can the bead have the same effect on the physical body? What you're saying is that this magical treasure pearl can restrain magical treasures, but it can't restrain a human's physical attacks. Yes, that's about it. Magic treasures aren't omnipotent. This is called all things mutually reinforcing and restraining each other. There is no absolute power. Magic treasures are naturally not omnipotent. They have their advantages, but they can never replace cultivators. Law's affirmation injected Su Fang with a cardiac stimulant. He couldn't rely on treasures to deal with Bai Tsubing. He had to use his physical strength. Of course, from the looks of it, Bai Tsubing couldn't truly control the bead and couldn't completely resist the emotionless sword formation. If this continued, neither side would be able to do anything to the other. However, Bai Tsubing would consume a large amount of qi, while the 18 experts would only consume a small amount of qi. This was the power of the sword formation. It wasn't a single person controlling it, but a group of people working together to deal with a strong enemy. Thus, the consumption wasn't much. Sir, you're quite skilled. The emotionless sword formation trapped Bai Tsubing and the other expert. Although it couldn't kill the two, it couldn't take a single step forward. Bai Tsubing spoke up. Those eyes of his looked like they wanted nothing more than to stomp Su Fang into meat paste. I, Bai Tsubing, will remember you. It's a small world, and there will be a day when I'll get back at you for what you did today. I'll also remember you. In the future, even if you don't come looking for me, I'll come looking for you. After saying this, Su Fang waited to see how Bai Tsubing would escape the formation. He didn't expect that this person would use the bead in his hand to forcefully release the restraining power, creating a 30-meter-long region of divine might. He brought the other expert along this region, and as he moved, he suddenly threw out his magical treasure. The bead rose into the air, and with a boom, it created a large hole in the sword formation behind them. With two whooshing sounds, the two experts charged out of the killing formation. Before leaving, Bai Tsubing's gaze seemed to be able to freeze the void. It could be seen how unwilling he was. "Master, we can kill him." The 18 experts put away the emotionless sword formation and arrived in front of Su Fang. They were naturally unwilling. Su Fang nodded. "We'll have to pay a certain price to kill him. Wait until I'm stronger, and you're able to control the sword formation. At that time, it'll be easier to deal with him. Right now, both sides will suffer." Following this, when Su Fang put away the emotionless sword formation, the 18 experts disappeared into the Xian Guang that Su Fang had released. Fairy Li walked closer. "There are indeed many capable people. You have this set of top-grade sword spies and the 18 experts to make up for your lack of cultivation. In this wasteland there are very few people who can kill you. The sword formation can be used to protect your life, but you can't always use it to protect yourself. Your own strength is the most important. Without strength, you won't be able to control the sword formation. Senior, let's leave this place and find a place to recover. I don't think Bai Tsubing will go too far." "Okay." After obtaining Fairy Li's agreement, Su Fang released his aura and carried Fairy Li toward the other side of the abyss. Passing through many valleys, the airflow was also very frightening. Fortunately, Su Fang had the power of a great perfection realm cultivator. He sensed the presence of cultivators and quickly left. After 100 li, they were still in one of the valleys in the abyss. The two of them came here and took advantage of the star fog to set up a barrier. The two of them began to rest in this natural danger zone. "How are you going to detoxify me? I was poisoned by Bai Tsubing many years ago. There shouldn't be an antidote. Fortunately, it's a slow-acting poison." Fairy Li was very curious when she heard that Su Fang wanted to detoxify her. Su Fang naturally found other excuses, saying that he had a magic treasure that could detoxify the poison. In fact, Fairy Li also knew that Su Fang must be hiding his power. Detoxification was naturally done with his ghostly power. When Fairy Li began to use her vital qi to control the poison in her body, Su Fang began to absorb the poison. Seeing that Fairy Li's face gradually returned to normal, Su Fang asked, "Senior, you should have seen my two friends, the Lord of Five Poisons and Li Haojie. I wonder how they are doing with Senior Bai Hua. You haven't been to White Cloud Immortal Palace. When your two friends first parted with you and stepped into White Cloud Immortal Palace, they became Bai Hua's disciples. They didn't let Bai Hua down. They have already become core disciples of White Cloud Immortal Palace. They are overflowing with talent and are not simple. Also, they are ascenders. Their strength is probably not as strong as yours, but not by much. Also, they should be following Bai Hua to the Huangze astral realm soon." "That's great. It really wasn't easy for me to ascend to the great world from the lower realm with them." Fairy Li asked, "Then where did you cultivate? With this mask, are you really a disciple of Huayan Shinrikyo?" Since he had a good relationship with Immortal Lord Bai Hua, he immediately took off his mask in front of Fairy Li and took out the constellation of 9 Heavens disciple token. Only then did she know that Su Fang was already a disciple of the constellation of 9 Heavens. Moreover, he was a nominated special disciple. His achievements had already surpassed the Lord of 5 Poisons and Li Haojie. Fairy Li couldn't calm the shock in her heart for a long time. How could a cultivator transform so shockingly? He then said, "What a coincidence. Our 4 forces are holding this training and we are walking together. Kid, you are not simple. Seems like the wasteland is your home. You are more used to it than I am. Good, because of this training, our relationship has improved. Plus, the leaders of our four forces have an agreement to help each other, like an alliance. After chatting for a while, what made Fairy Lee even more shocked was that in a short period of time, there wasn't a trace of the poison left in her body. It was all sucked dry by Su Fong. She didn't know that Su Fong had such detoxification abilities. Buzz, unknowingly, half a month passed. A strange aura suddenly surged toward Fairy Lee from the depths of the wasteland. Fairy Lee was as happy as a young girl. She jumped up and flew toward the exit with Su Fong. Bai Hua is here. As expected, he brought 2 of your friends and a few disciples. Is that so? She could finally see the Lord of 5 Poisons and Li Haojie again. More than 200 years, a few hundred years. After a dozen breaths, the 2 flew out of the abyss and landed on the ground. After waiting for a moment in the void, more than 10 figures tore through the void. Su Fong had also reverted to his original appearance. When he looked again, he saw the familiar 5 Venoms sect master and Li Haojie, following the white-robed immortal lord, flying over on a flying sword. Whoosh, the dozen people flew into the air, tore through the star fog, and appeared in front of the 2. Li Haojie was originally cold and indifferent, but he raised his eyebrows and suddenly shouted, "Brother Su! Su Fong!" The Lord of 5 Poisons also saw Su Fong. He was in disbelief. After Li Haojie, he flew towards Su Fong like a meteor. Su Fong and Li Haojie hugged in the air. The Lord of 5 Poisons also hugged. In front of a dozen people, the 3 almost forgot that they were in the wasteland. Bai Hua Deity Lord wasn't too surprised to see Su Fong. He probably also knew about Su Fong from Fairy Lee. He also showed a look of appreciation. After a while, in the depths of the forest, 3 figures came to a grassland alone. The others were in another forest. Although Bai Hua Deity Lord treats us well, he still doesn't know about our abilities. He can tell that the 2 of us are only mystic immortals. It was Su Fong, the Lord of 5 Poisons, and Li Haojie. In this short period of time, the 3 of them knew what each other had experienced in the past few hundred years. Then, Su Fong set up an array and let Green Feather King, Bai Ling, Vermilion Emperor, Undying Turtle, Demon Venerable Tong Tian, Wooling Goblin, and other big goblin come out to meet the 2 of them. This scene was like returning to the 5 small worlds of the past. While everyone was catching up, Su Fong also took out 2 supreme-grade Dao artifacts from his body and gave them to the Lord of 5 Poisons and Li Haojie. Li Haojie had the Elemental Suppression and Demon Transformation Heavenly Book, but he still lacked a powerful offensive supreme-grade Dao artifact. The supreme-grade Dao artifact that Su Fong gave happened to be superior, so Li Haojie accepted it without hesitation. The Lord of 5 Poisons looked at the supreme-grade Dao artifacts and was very excited. Moreover, Sect Master, the 5 poisons that you cultivate is the 5 poisons true body. In the future, you can fuse with more poisonous creatures and turn the 5 poisons true body into even more strange poison true bodies. I just happened to catch 7 gluttonous demons. I'll give you 3 now. I've already suppressed them. You just have to slowly fuse with them. It turned out that Su Fong not only gave the Lord of 5 Poisons supreme-grade Dao artifacts, but also 3 gluttonous demons. This made the Lord of 5 Poisons very excited. Bai Tsubing was a poison refinement expert, but he didn't have a true body. On the other hand, the Lord of 5 Poisons had cultivated the 5 Poisons true body in the small world. In the Tao of Poison Refinement, the Lord of 5 Poisons had far more potential than Bai Tsubing. The gluttonous demons had caught the Lord of 5 Poisons' attention. He was even more excited than the supreme-grade Tao artifact. Otherwise, the chances of him encountering the gluttonous demons were very low, let alone suppressing them. Chapter 11:22. The gluttonous demon could become the host for the Lord of 5 Poisons to refine his poison. This way, the 5 poisons' true body could evolve further. The group chatted for half a day. Knowing that the White Transformation Immortal Lord and Fairy Li were coming with other White Cloud Immortal Palace experts, Su Fang let the big goblin return to the Crucible Transformation realm. He also learned from Li Haojie and the Lord of 5 Poisons that the White Transformation Immortal Lord and Fairy Li were Tao companions and had been together for tens of thousands of years. However, the two were always together. If he didn't hear that Bai Tsubing wanted to kill Fairy Li, the White Transformation Immortal Lord probably wouldn't have come alone. You made the right decision back then. Everyone has their own path of growth and their own path of cultivation, Yi Futian said. The White Transformation Immortal Lord sighed when he saw Su Fang. To an expert like him who had cultivated for countless years, a few hundred years was nothing. To the two, Su Fang felt like he had returned to the first time he saw the White Transformation Immortal Lord. The White Transformation Immortal Lord also felt like he had met that stubborn ordinary immortal who gave up on his immortal fate. I know Bai Tsubing very well. Back then, he joined the White Cloud Immortal Palace with me, but he was expelled from the sect because he cultivated poison technique. Later on, he held a grudge over this matter and killed many of our sect's disciples. I received orders to hunt him down several times and severely injure him several times, but he always managed to survive. Because of this, there is an unresolvable conflict between him and the White Cloud Immortal Palace. I didn't expect you to be able to restrain him this time, but you must be careful in the future. Bai Tsubing's methods are very cruel, and I heard that he has recruited many evil Tao cultivators in various wastelands over the years to strengthen himself. Thank you, Senior. I can contact the experts of the sect at any time. If I meet Bai Tsubing again, I will ask the higher-ups to help me. He could tell that the White Transformation Immortal Lord was concerned about him. This person's strength was probably stronger than Immortal Changgu and was on the same level as Outyen Chanhen. Originally, I didn't plan to come to the training of the 4 major factions. Now that I'm here, the sect has asked me to take care of some matters. If you have nothing else to do, follow me until the end of the event. Thank you for your kind intentions, Senior. However, I still have some matters to attend to. I have to rush back to the sect and meet with the higher-ups in charge of me. Brother Fang, why don't you join us? When Li Haojie heard this, he looked at Su Fang with great reluctance. The Lord of 5 Poisons was also troubled. We only meet once every few hundred years. After this event, it will be very easy for us to meet. We should seize this opportunity to become stronger first. I have some plans in the near future. When the time comes, the 3 of us will probably have to meet again. I will take my leave first. Everyone, I will take my leave. The 2 of them couldn't persuade Su Fang to stay. He immediately got up and bowed in front of the masters. Then, he nodded to the Lord of 5 Poisons and Li Haojie before turning around and disappearing briskly. Fairy Maiden Li stared at him for a moment before whispering to Bai Hua, Immortal Lord. He knows your good intentions. Bai Tsubing is lucky that he doesn't know his identity. This kid is really something. Luckily, he didn't follow me to White Cloud Immortal Palace. Otherwise, his future would have been affected. Bai Hua, Immortal Lord, praised him openly. Master, we know Brother Fang the best. No matter where he is or what kind of situation he is in, he has the ability to turn danger into safety. The Lord of 5 Poisons bowed respectfully to Bai Hua, Immortal Lord. Yes. Next, we will go to the desolate land to take a look and meet up with the sect. We will also look for Bai Tsubing's whereabouts. This person probably wants to harm many of our disciples. Whoosh, whoosh. The group also left the forest. At this moment, Su Fang arrived in the sky above a star fog. He contacted his second primordial spirit and asked it to quickly get rid of Huang Fu Duan and meet up with him. Almost at the same time, His second primordial spirit received a message from the constellation of 9 heavens' higher-ups, asking him and another master to bring their disciples to the Earth Dragon Valley. Looking at the map, the Earth Dragon Valley was not far from the Wolf Head mountain range. It was a dangerous place that Su Fang had never been to before. His second primordial spirit didn't know why they had to go to the Earth Dragon Valley. The higher-ups only sent a decree. He contacted Immortal Hasegawa again. Immortal Hasegawa's reply made Su Fang suddenly nervous. It turned out that Huyen Shinrikyo had found an ancient relic in the Earth Dragon Valley. It was a demonic relic. Currently, they didn't know if it was the dojo of the Yellow Spring Demon Emperor. The 4 major forces were planning to send their true masters to the Earth Dragon Valley and send hundreds of thousands of disciples to the surroundings of the Earth Dragon Valley for training. This would create an illusion that they were training in front of the world, making it easier for the 4 major forces to open the ancient relic. Moreover, it was Huyen Shinrikyo who suddenly informed the 3 major forces. Currently, only the higher-ups knew about this and were planning this nervously. Ordinary elders didn't know about the relic in the Earth Dragon Valley. The news was only spread among the higher-ups. Immortal Hasegawa finally said, "Master, do you want to go to the Earth Dragon Valley? If you want to go, do it as soon as possible. The higher-ups of Star Palace are discussing this. For the time being, the 4 major forces will only send a portion of their masters to secretly watch the relic. They won't make a big move yet. Of course I have to go and take a look. If there is any news, continue to inform me." He couldn't care so much. If it really was the dojo of the Yellow Spring Demon Emperor, he couldn't let outsiders take advantage of this opportunity. Stepping on the feather fan, he flew to the depths of the valley as fast as he could. He was eager to see the relic. In less than 3 days. Finally, he stopped in the sky and used his great fulfillment ability to look at the ground. There were layers of mountains below. The whole place looked like a 4-legged snake lying in the depths of the earth. No wonder it was called the Earth Dragon Valley. Other than the mountains, the Earth Dragon Valley had many complex canyons and forests. The canyons covered the forests, and there were canyons hidden in the forest. Unfortunately, even Immortal Hasegawa didn't know where the relic was. He could only use the Tianji life shrinking technique. Arriving at one of the peaks, he used his great fulfillment ability together with the Tianji life shrinking technique. In less than 10 breaths, he sensed a large amount of Huyen Shinrikyo's aura and a demonic aura scattered deep underground. Among the demonic aura, there was a trace of a familiar aura. The distance was too deep, and coupled with the shackles of the wasteland's natural force, Su Fang couldn't find out what was going on in the depths of the earth with his current cultivation. In the next second, he decisively flew into the depths of a canyon. The canyon was similar to the other abyss, but the poisonous aura was a bit stronger. Su Fang continued to understand the Earth Dragon Valley. It turned out that someone had once excavated the relic. No wonder he could see traces left behind by various cultivators in many places. After entering the abyss, he quickly sensed the aura of some Huyen Shinrikyo's disciples from the place where he sensed the aura before. He also saw a large area of collapse near a large abyss. He could also see some broken building beams. There were also traces of battle in the surroundings. There's a formation. He was approaching the abyss with the demonic aura. Who knew? With his great fulfillment ability, he saw thin marks covering the surroundings of the canyon. When he took a closer look, the marks intertwined to form a detection barrier that didn't have any aura and had no defensive ability. This kind of barrier wasn't used for attack or defense, but for detection. Therefore, it couldn't compare to other barriers in all aspects. However, if someone touched it, they would immediately be discovered by hidden experts. Su Fang retreated a bit and activated the Heaven and Earth Fire Fusion technique. This time, he turned into a Huyen Shinrikyo disciple. He then used the Yellow Springs Blood Sea and turned it into a 3-meter-long blood ribbon that passed through the gaps in the detection barrier. He didn't touch the barrier at all. The Yellow Springs Blood Sea was indeed very useful. When he reached the deeper abyss, his great fulfillment ability sensed that there were too many Huiyen Shinrikyo experts hidden in the surrounding star fog. The weakest had strength close to that of an elder. Su Fong cautiously released his senses into the depths of the abyss. He sensed the strong aura of the constellation of 9 heavens, Brahma Meditation Gate, Clear Skies Myriad Scroll Gate, and Huiyen Shinrikyo. Moreover, each aura had a kind of ancient aura. There was no doubt that there were peerless experts from the 4 major factions in the depths of the abyss. He hid his aura even more mysteriously as he continued to go deeper into the abyss. Under layers of air currents, he saw many experts hiding in the dark. Then, he came to a huge abyss that was like a natural chasm. His great fulfillment ability penetrated 10 miles below. During this time, he saw some more abyss. However, in the deepest part, Su Fong saw more than 10 experts sitting cross-legged in the void. Below them was a large stone gate covered with ancient demonic patterns. The stone gate was where the ruins were. He also saw the experts clearly. They were the top experts of the 4 major forces. Their strength was at the level of a mortal Changu, or even stronger than him. Moreover, there were many corpses in the abyss that had died not long ago. There were about 100 of them. It was obvious that they were killed here by the 4 major forces. I also used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique to sense carefully to see if this is the Thousand Flows Ancient Demon Dojo. However, it shouldn't be, and it definitely isn't the Yellow Springs Devil Dojo. The 2 ancient demon dojos should have the same aura as the 100 Virtues Ancient Demon Dojo. He hid and quietly used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique in his body. With the help of his great fulfillment ability, the aura of more than 10 miles around him was detected by the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique. Soon, some Dao runes moved. Su Fong sensed the aura of the 100 Virtues Ancient Demon that he was familiar with. There was also a strong demonic aura that was similar to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's. However, there was more demonic aura that contained the aura of the 100 Virtues Ancient Demon and the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. It seems like there is only one explanation. The ruins below must be related to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. However, it is not the Thousand Flows Ancient Demon Dojo. The power of the 100 Virtues Ancient Demon did not resonate, but there is a similar demonic aura in the surroundings. Could there be more than one ruin in the depths of the Earth Dragon Valley? There were many doubts in his heart. After thinking about it, he decided that he had to get closer to the ruins to sense it. He continued to move closer to the depth. He did not avoid the experts and sneaked in from the other side of the abyss. When he was about 1.5 miles away, he did not dare to take another step. After all, the experts around the ruins were too heaven-defying. Fortunately, he had the Wooling Goblin. After the Wooling Goblin ate Su Fong, it drilled into the cliff of the abyss and kept approaching the ruins. When it could no longer go deeper, it continued to release the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique. He was about 1 mile away from the ruins. Moreover, he was at the back of the ruins. If he used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique at such a distance, he should be able to discover something deeper. The world quieted down. At such a close distance, he even wanted to sense the ruins and see what it looked like. What treasures were there and why it was related to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo. First, he sensed the experts again. There were also dozens of experts guarding in the dark. The outline of the ruins gradually became clear. It was in this cliff. Unfortunately, the seal was very strong. The Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique and his great fulfillment ability could not penetrate it. It seemed that he could not find anything valuable. However, when his senses reached the bottom of the ruins, he suddenly sensed a wave of demonic aura. It was slightly extending into the depths of the abyss. There was an astonishing wave of demonic aura, as if it was connected to the ruins in a certain space in the depths of the ruins. Su Fang frowned. Could it be like the 100 Virtues ancient demon dojo in the past? There are also various spatial passageways above the dojo that are connected to other ruins. Then, one can go to the depths of the ancient demon dojo through the spatial passageways. It must be like this. That's why this imprint has a familiar aura. The Thousand Flows dojo is in a certain space below. Chapter 11:23. Using his extraordinary senses, he finally found something deep within the ruins. He thought back to the 100 Virtues ancient devil dojo. It was also because he had entered the ancient well and accidentally activated the spatial array at the bottom of the well that he was able to enter the ancient devil dojo. Now, it was the same for the Thousand Flows ancient devil dojo. Great, he finally found something. Unfortunately, Su Fang was unable to continue sensing where the devil chi led to. He frowned and looked at the experts. The 4 major factions are currently exploring the ruins. They probably won't touch it so easily for a while. I have enough time to search for the ancient devil dojo in the depth. Suddenly, he heard some movement coming from above. Someone's coming. Su Fang focused on the movements around him. He heard one of the experts in front of the ruins suddenly say, "The 4 major factions are openly training in the Earth Dragon Valley to warn everyone not to enter. It seems that a mere warning isn't enough. We can use thunder to control the situation." Those big shots said a few words. In less than 2 breaths, Su Fang heard all kinds of explosions from above. The hidden experts of the 4 major factions were working together to deal with the cultivators who had infiltrated this place. Su Fang was also curious. He used his perfect vision and gradually looked over. Just a few miles above, in the different abyss star fog and airflow, there were about a dozen powerful people who were being besieged by the experts of the 4 major forces. These people were all very powerful. The fact that they could penetrate the detection array was enough to prove this point. However, the 4 major factions' experts not only had a lot of people, but their strength was also at the elders' level. They were also very young, about 30 years old or so. It seemed that these people were either special disciples or top experts of their respective factions. Wait a minute. That young cultivator from the constellation of 9 heavens has the same aura as proud heaven chanting hatred. He swept his gaze over more than 30 experts from the 4 major factions. Among them, there were also some experts from the constellation of 9 heavens. Su Fang had never seen them before. The strongest people in the constellation of 9 heavens were the special disciples of the special dojos. How many disciples were there? Su Fang only knew of a few of them. There were bound to be more powerful people. One of them was a man in his mid-20s. He wore a black Taoist robe and his hair was coiled up like a Taoist bun. He caught Su Fang's attention. Su Fang was very familiar with the aura of this person's divine ability. He had a similar power within him, and he was very sure that this power came from proud heaven-chanting hatred. There were 9 dojos in Star Palace, which meant that there were 9 supreme elders. Ao Tianzhong Hen was one of them. This young man had his aura, so he had to be one of proud heaven Changhen's 2 disciples. Su Fang had seen Hen Buhui a few times, but Ao Tianzhong Hen's other disciple had never met him. He had never thought that he would meet him here today. He carefully sized up this person. His speed was about the same as a meteor. He had also cultivated the 9 heavenly stars' small phase art to the extreme. All kinds of techniques that Su Fang was familiar with were at his fingertip. Moreover, this person's control of the wasteland was very shocking. He had probably fused with a fragment of the world. The sword techniques that came out of his hands were not only swift and fierce, but also domineering. With one sword, he could cut open the powerful airflow in the abyss. It's no wonder that most of the special disciples of the constellation of 9 heavens are nowhere to be seen. It's just as Immortal Chang-gu said. These disciples are all secretly carrying out various missions. Jun Buhui was very powerful. He had mastered his divine ability to the extent that it was natural. Su Fang understood the techniques of the special disciples even more. For example, the extreme nebula art. Under Jun Buhui's display, palm techniques and divine abilities were constantly changing. It was very powerful. Suddenly, a few experts charged over. Some of them even had a demonic aura. Intruders will be killed without mercy. It seemed that there were people constantly learning about the news of the Earth Dragon Valley. The experts naturally would not let go of such an opportunity. Waves of terrifying aura appeared in the surrounding abyss. They were not cultivators who came to snatch the treasure. They were the top experts of the 4 forces. Su Fang used his great perfection senses to sense that there were currently 3 elders approaching. They were not ordinary people. They were definitely elders. They came from the Huayan Shinrikyo, the Gate of 10,000 Scrolls, and the constellation of 9 heavens. Before they appeared, with the power of a great perfection, 3 elders appeared in the abyss 10 miles above the abyss. One of them was wearing a red robe that burned like flames. He was obviously an elder of the Huayan Shinrikyo. One of them was wearing a gray-white Taoist robe with layers of complicated Taoist patterns. He was definitely an elder of the Gate of 10,000 Scrolls. The person on the left was an old man in his 80s. He had white eyebrows and a long snow-white beard. Su Fang was very familiar with this person's aura. He was the source of the Huangfu Dojo. He was so powerful and dignified. There was a high chance that he was the most powerful elder of the Huangfu Dojo, the Huangfu Elder. No wonder he was qualified to directly give orders to the special disciples. It turned out that he was the most powerful person among the 3 forces. The 3 elders did not make a move, but more experts of the 4 forces appeared around them. It seemed that in a short period of time, the 4 forces had made a rough deployment. Whoever came to snatch the ruins would definitely not be able to return. However, more and more cultivators broke into the abyss. Almost all of them had the strength of an elder. However, every one of them was either trapped by the array formation of the 4 forces or killed on the spot. Even if they were trapped by the array formation, the experts of the 4 forces were merciless. Under the orders of the elders, the cultivators' heads were chopped off one by one. Once the cultivators died, everything on them was taken by the special disciples. As for their corpses, they fell into the abyss one after another. Even those who were trapped and begged for mercy were not spared by the 4 major forces. For the sake of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Tao ground, the 4 major forces are not only ruthless, but also ruthless. How can such actions be considered as orthodox immortal Tao? I think they're all selfish people. In the dark, all of this was seen by Su Fang. This Earth Dragon Valley had become a guillotine. I should also continue to sense the depths of the abyss. Since I can't find any other entrance, I can only use this method to stay here. When the 4 forces decide to open the ruins, there will be so many capable people entering the ruins. Maybe the mystery of the secret passage will be discovered. Su Fang suddenly controlled the Wooling Goblin and slowly left the depths of the cliff. Climbing out of the rock cave, he continued to climb down into the abyss. The jet of air became more and more terrifying. Fortunately, the Wooling Goblin could use its ability along the rocks, and was not affected by the jet of air. The Great Perfection ability continued to penetrate, coupled with the life-shrinking technique, and the speed was not too fast. As Su Fang continued to sense, the Wooling Goblin also constantly changed its position. However, after an hour, he reached the deepest space of the abyss and could no longer go deeper. He had already entered the vortex of jet of air. Even if the Wooling Goblin was in the jet of air, it would also be sucked in and then fall into a certain space domain. That would be troublesome. Try it, there should be more than one passage to the ruins above. Law said at this time. In fact, Su Fang also thought of this. After all these years of adventure and cultivation, his knowledge has become more and more extraordinary. He calmed down and used the great perfection ability. Sure enough, near the nothingness of the demonic aura seeping down from the ruins above, he sensed two demonic auras floating. It was very nothingness, but because Su Fang mastered the power of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor, coupled with the life-shrinking technique and the great perfection ability, he was just able to capture this aura. There is one that penetrates very far away, and the other is closer, estimated to be more than 10 miles away from the ruins above. I will find the source of this demonic aura, find the entrance there, and go through the secret passage to the ancient demon Dao Hall. After saying that, he immediately let the Wuling Goblin slowly climb up. More than 2 hours later, he came to the abyss that was more than 20 miles away from the ruins above. Su Fang could strongly sense the aura of the source of the secret passage. It was not far away. Then, just as he moved forward, suddenly, a strong aura of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor came from the source of the secret passage. What's going on? Could it be another ruin? Not only was there the demonic aura of the secret passage, but there was also an aura similar to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. He did not understand, but he became more careful. This caution had become a habit. After a few more miles, he unexpectedly sensed the aura of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor, but it was different this time. There were actually 2 auras of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor coming from the source of the secret passage. This made him even more confused, and he could only continue forward. After about 5 miles, at this moment, he used the great perfection ability to see that there was a very well-hidden cave in the abyss that was filled with starry mist and airflow. The area was very shocking, and there were 2 auras of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor coming from the cave. Not only that, there were more than 20 auras of cultivators coming from there. I understand a little. After sensing this, the Wuling Goblin went deeper. His vision penetrated the airflow, and he saw that there were more than 20 powerful cultivators in the cave. They were carefully looking for something in a place that seemed to be a place where the experts of the Devil Dao cultivated. Among them, there were 2 cultivators who were controlling 2 objects with their hand. The aura of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor came from these objects. It was obvious that they were treasures related to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor, just like the Yellow Springs Great Emperor bottle. There were indeed many capable cultivators in the world who knew how to use the treasures of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor to sense a similar power. These people are quite lucky to be able to obtain these tokens. Unfortunately, I have already obtained the recognition of the ancient devil. You are all scheming to steal my things. Suddenly, he thought of a way to scare these people away. Su Fang could not deal with so many experts alone. Moreover, once he made a move, it would attract the attention of the experts of the 4 great powers. Once they came here, Su Fang could not quietly come here. Beat the grass and startle the snake. My things naturally cannot fall into the hands of outsiders. He smiled and used the heaven and earth fire fusion art. With the true chi of the Huoyen Shinrikyo, he suddenly sent a few strands of consciousness to the area controlled by the 4 great powers. In less than 10 breaths, dozens of cultivators with the aura of the Huoyen Shinrikyo as the main aura suddenly flew toward this vast wasteland. At the same time, they suddenly shot out a few flames toward the cave in front of them. In less than 3 breaths, more than 20 people hurriedly flew out from the cave and came to the abyss. They must have noticed the experts of the 4 great powers approaching from the depth. The group was hesitant, but in a short while, more than 20 people quietly flew toward the other side of the abyss. It was a good plan. The Wuling Goblin quickly crawled toward the abyss. In a short while, Su Fang flew out from the Wuling Goblin's mouth. He flew into the cave and looked around. It was indeed a dojo where the demons once cultivated. However, someone must have been here before. Other than some demon statues and some special carvings and murals, there were no other treasures. Buzz, another wave of movement entered his senses. Su Fong was shocked. He was very surprised. The morale of the diabolism cultivators is low. There are diabolism cultivators approaching here. I must find the secret passage immediately. Chapter 11:24. Demonic cultivators. They were far more terrifying than ordinary cultivators and the four major forces. Su Fong immediately activated his great perfection ability and the power from Baishan ancient demon that he had fused with. The dojo was not small, but there was nothing special about it. With a buzzing sound, he suddenly sensed a familiar movement with his great perfection ability. Su Fong rushed over to take a look. It turned out that in the middle of a few broken stone pillars, there was a strange dark red demonic totem that was emitting an aura similar to Baishan ancient demon. Instantly, he activated the power from Baishan ancient demon and covered the demonic totem below. From the surface of the totem, a blood-red crack suddenly appeared, and deep within the crack was a secret space passage. That's great. Su Fong immediately formed a seal, and his body turned into a stream of demonic aura as he slowly approached the blood-red totem. At the same time, he heard a stream of demonic aura approaching. In a few breaths' time, it would probably find this place. Whoosh! Fortunately, Su Fong smoothly entered the secret space passage like a stream of demonic aura Xian Guang. In an instant, he experienced the familiar weightlessness and shuttling. After a breath's time, his feet became heavy and cold air pressed down. What he saw was no longer a blood-red tunnel, but a silent place, like a tomb buried underground. After calming down, he looked again. This should be a barren abyss, but the difference was that this place was built in the depths of the rocks, and there were only some cracks in the abyss that sent in some familiar abyss air. Turning around, a familiar stream of demonic aura surged. It was as if he had returned to Baishan ancient demon's dojo. In front of him was a similar entrance, and there were still two shocking demonic statues, and they were exactly the same as the demonic statues that he had obtained from Baishan ancient demon. Behind the demonic statues was a circular stone door with many demonic runes. It was estimated to be more than 100 feet wide, and it was heavily embedded in the cold rock. Thousand Flows ancient demon's dojo. How much did he think? With a whoosh, he flew out and slapped the two demonic statues twice. With another slap, the two demonic statues began to show signs of damage. With another slap, the demonic statues began to shatter on a large scale. The fragments fell piece by piece, and a shocking black demonic body appeared inside. Another two demonic soldiers. Rustle. Just as he put away the two demonic weapons, he didn't expect that there would suddenly be movement behind him, above the space tunnel where Su Fong had appeared. Shit, someone actually found the secret space passage so quickly! Su Fong was startled, and all the hairs on his body stood on end. With a flash, Zhang Xian arrived in front of the ancient stone door. Activating practice makes perfect. He focused his attention and saw an inconspicuous blood-red mark on the stone door. It was the entrance to the training hall. With a pop, Su Fong turned into a stream of blood and slowly entered the stone door, disappearing bit by bit into the magic mark that flickered with a faint bloody light. Hua hua hua! Almost at the same time, several demonic lights appeared in the secret space passage. Then, there were 5 demonic path cultivators with floating demonic robes. However, these 5 people were different from ordinary demonic path cultivators. They had demonic horns on their heads. Heavenly Demon. 5 extremely powerful skyfiends. Inform the Lord that the ruins have been discovered, and someone has already entered the ruins. At this moment, the 5 skyfiends all caught sight of the blood-red streak that disappeared into the stone door, as well as the fragments on the ground. 2 of the 5 skyfiends were left behind, while the remaining 3 experts rushed towards the stone door. After circulating their chi, 3 demonic palm techniques hit the stone door with a boom. Although the stone door wasn't shattered, it shook violently. Inside the stone door, Su Fang, who had turned into the Yellow Springs Blood Sea, grew a pair of deep eyes from the bloody water. He looked at the movement outside the stone door behind him, as if he could see the 3 sky fiends attacking the stone door. Sky fiends, 3 sky fiends, and they're stronger than Blood Sovereign and Sovereign Baimo. In addition, their status is nobler than any other cultivator on Demonic Mountain. Why did 5 sky fiends come all of a sudden? Su Fang felt the stone door shake, and he suddenly had a sense of oppression, as if the stone door was going to shatter together with it. The strength of the 5 sky fiends was actually stronger than Immortal Chang'u. It was too shocking, and they were much stronger than Blood Sovereign and Sovereign Baimo. These were the true experts of the demonic path. Young man, you're very lucky. Welcome here. Suddenly, an ancient voice inadvertently came from behind him. When Su Fang heard it, he was surprised and happy. It was expected, but also a little unexpected. Needless to say, the person who spoke must be one of the 2 ancient demons who had followed the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor, Yin Qianlu. He turned around and saw a 1-foot-long demonic light in the bloody passage. It slowly became real and condensed in the bloody space. It was similar to when ancient demon Bai Shan appeared. Su Fang approached the bloody light, not worried or afraid at all. In the bloody light, there was also a figure sitting cross-legged. He was older than ancient demon Bai Shan, estimated to be no less than 70 years old, and there were many demonic patterns on his skin. Although this person was only left with 1 young immortal, the aura he gave Su Fang was still unimaginably strong. If he really attacked, he could completely wipe out the 5 sky fiends outside. Boom. Unexpectedly, the stone door behind him shook again, causing Su Fang's heart to beat faster. It was like a wild beast, no, 5 wild beasts were staring at him. Within the bloody light, Yin Qianlu said, "Don't worry about the stone door for now. These 5 sky fiends from the demonic race aren't too strong. They won't be able to shake my seal for now. They're from the demonic race." Su Fang trembled again. He was full of admiration for Yin Qianlu for being able to see the origin of the sky fiends at a glance. He immediately bowed. Junior Su Fang unexpectedly obtained Senior Ancient Demon Bai Shan's approval and obtained everything. I also have a certain degree of control over the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. I hope one day I can obtain Senior Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's inheritance. Ancient Devil Yin Qianlu said, "Your ability to control the Yellow Springs Blood Sea is indeed extraordinary, but you still need to work harder. Now listen carefully. Brother Baishan should tell you a lot of things. What I'm going to tell you next is the Devil Emperor's most glorious and final moment." Junior is all ears. Su Fang immediately calmed down. He no longer worried about what was happening outside. "I don't have much time, so I'll get to the main point. After all, the demonic race has already found this place. The Devil Emperor's life was short, but he had many legends. You probably know the general idea of his past. What I'm going to tell you is some of the secrets of how he established the immortal world. When the Devil Emperor rose to power, he established a demonic Dao faction and almost unified all the other demonic Dao factions. Later, he forcefully suppressed the other immortal Dao factions and established the Yellow Springs Immortal World. Establishing the Immortal World caused the Devil Emperor's name to shake the world. But the Devil Emperor's goal wasn't to selfishly establish the Immortal World, but to establish a kind of order, a kind of law called the Reincarnation Law. The Devil Emperor's greatest wish was to truly comprehend undying, to grasp the mysteries of life and death. But when his strength reached the peak, he realized that even if he became the strongest immortal, he still couldn't truly become undying. How many cultivators are lamentable? They cultivate their entire lives, but in the end, they only have a bit more lifespan than a mortal. They will also die. The Devil Emperor's people established the immortal world to grasp undying. Because of that, the Devil Emperor began to cultivate the Yellow Springs Blood Sea. He began to steal the secrets of eternal life, or secret art. In the end, he created a forbidden art called the Undying Blood Spirit. The Undying Blood Spirit used the Yellow Springs Blood Sea, the forbidden art of the physical body, to allow the Devil Emperor to cultivate his physical body to the extreme. He used his own blood to transform it into an endless sea of blood. Then, he used all kinds of spiritual objects and forbidden art. In the Yellow Springs immortal world, he used his life and physical body to achieve nirvana. Rebirth, the creation of blood spirit. Blood spirits are based on fresh blood and physical body. They are a kind of host body without a soul, but with life. To put it simply, they are the living dead. During that time, the Yellow Springs immortal world was completely closed, and no immortals were allowed to enter. The Devil Emperor ordered his subordinates to search for corpses that had been lost not long ago and use the Yellow Springs Blood Sea to condense blood spirit. Then, he allowed his seriously injured subordinates to directly use the Yellow Springs reincarnation art that the Devil Emperor comprehended to separate their primordial spirits from their physical bodies. They were transferred, possessed, devoured, and fused into the blood spirits. In this way, the blood spirits that were like the living dead had their own consciousness, and the seriously injured cultivators who couldn't be cured could use this method to possess the blood spirits and regain their physical bodies. After that, the Devil Emperor allowed more people in the immortal world to possess the blood spirits again through the Yellow Springs reincarnation art. They were truly immortal. As long as there were blood spirits, as long as the Devil Emperor existed, as long as the Yellow Springs immortal world existed, anyone in the immortal world could continuously possess the blood spirits and be resurrected under the Devil Emperor's power. At this point, the ancient Devil Qianluo's expression suddenly became lively, as if he had returned to the Yellow Springs immortal world. Yellow Springs reincarnation art undying blood spirit resurrection, rebirth, immortality. For Su Feng, his body and mind were shocked like never before. From a small world to a large world, this was the first time he was so moved. In this world, there was actually someone who could surpass the heavenly Tao, break the shackles of the heavenly Tao, and rebuild an immortal world under the heavenly Tao. The Yellow Springs Emperor. The Yellow Springs immortal world. As expected of an existence that had been passed down through the ages. Su Feng looked at the ancient Devil Qianlu with admiration. Senior, the Devil Emperor is very powerful. Junior is full of admiration. Immortality, the Devil Emperor actually knows such a secret. Yes. The ancient Devil Qianlu also sighed, but his eyes darkened. This is only the beginning, the past, and not the end. What kind of story would the end be? The ancient devil said slowly. The appearance of the immortal blood spirit and the great emperor's ability to control life and death spread quickly in the Yellow Spring immortal realm. Everyone respected the great emperor and wanted to live forever. The news spread silently and shook the entire immortal realm. Since ancient times, no one has been able to control the true immortality, but the great Devil Emperor did. At that time, many forces came to form an alliance with the Yellow Spring immortal realm. Even the orthodox immortal Tao didn't feel ashamed, especially the devil world. Although the Devil Emperor called himself a devil, he never admitted that he was a devil. At that time, the devil world sent a decree to bestow upon the Devil Emperor a title, as well as the heavenly devil blood, or even the blood of a supreme devil lord, so that the great emperor could become a true noble of the devil race. Unfortunately, the devil world and the celestials didn't expect that the Devil Emperor would kill the experts sent by the devil world on the spot. He decisively rejected the devil world's invitation. This is only one of the stories. There are many more stories like this that even I can't remember. After that, we all followed the Devil Emperor, thinking that we could truly grasp an immortal realm, and create an immortal paradise. But we didn't expect that the undying blood spirit would gradually go beyond the Devil Emperor's expectations and control. Life is protected by the heavenly Tao, but the undying blood spirit transcended the heavenly Tao and wasn't protected by the heavenly Tao. Those who were resurrected by the undying blood spirit gradually fell into chi deviation, killing people everywhere and even eating people. Not only that, the Devil Emperor's cultivation fell into shackles, and because the Devil Emperor rejected all powers and cultivators, the Yellow Springs immortal world became the immortal domain's public enemy. Chapter 11:25. The situation was not good for the immortal realm. What no one expected was that because too many blood spirits were not protected by the heavenly Tao, the evil chi, resentment, and demonic chi caused the blood spirits to be controlled by evil chi. This evil chi eventually attracted the heavenly Tao's tribulation chi, which lingered above the Yellow Spring immortal realm. The Devil Emperor suddenly appeared from his cultivation and led us to look at the sky. At that moment we saw the Devil Emperor trembling. Qianluo's eyes slowly widened, as if a light had suddenly torn a hole in the dark night. When the tribulation chi appeared, the Devil Emperor seemed to have changed into a different person. He secluded himself, cultivated, controlled the Yellow Spring blood sea, and created more immortal blood spirit bodies, one after another. In the immortal realm, from the commoners to the cultivators, no one was afraid of disappointment or cultivation. If they were sick, they would directly seize the body of a blood spirit, or if there was a problem in their cultivation, they would abandon the body of a blood spirit and seize another one. Because of the immortal blood spirit and the Yellow Spring Great Emperor, no one in the Yellow Spring immortal realm feared death, illness, or even the heavenly Tao. In addition, the Great Emperor was stuck in a bottleneck and could no longer care about the Yellow Spring immortal realm. The balance in the immortal realm was constantly being broken. Not long after, the people in the immortal realm became greedier. There were killings and robberies everywhere. Because of the immortal blood spirits and the power of reincarnation, those who were killed were always lingering in the reincarnation cycle. The tribulation chi in the Yellow Spring immortal realm became more and more obvious. Gradually, it was not just one, but a dark cloud appeared. The strange situation in the Yellow Spring immortal realm finally attracted the attention of countless forces in the immortal realm and the immortal realm. The outside world was speculating about what had happened in the Yellow Spring immortal realm. In fact, we also felt that something was wrong at that time, but it was difficult to tell the truth. The key was that the Devil Emperor, who was our backbone, was cultivating all day and creating immortal blood spirits. At that time, we all knew that the Devil Emperor knew everything that was happening in the outside world. He tried to find a way to make up for everything, to reverse the situation, to find the reason that caused all of this to go beyond the Devil Emperor's control. But one day, the Devil Emperor suddenly summoned everyone. Qianlu was choked with sobs and could not even continue. "What's wrong?" Su Fang was completely fascinated. Because the Yellow Spring Great Emperor and the Yellow Spring immortal realm had reached a level of the world. Establishing the laws, controlling the cycle of reincarnation, creating immortality. There were no words to express these feelings. He wanted to know everything that had happened. We don't know why Lord Demon Emperor suddenly summoned everyone. When we saw Lord Demon Emperor again, he suddenly became a middle-aged man. Although his aura was still strong, we knew that he must have found something. Sure enough, Lord Demon Emperor immediately ordered the experts to move the ordinary people out of the Yellow Spring immortal world, starting from the center of the immortal world, and protect them from the surroundings of the immortal world. At that time, we couldn't believe it. Why was the Yellow Springs immortal world already so powerful? It had countless experts and wasn't weaker than any other immortal world. Lord Devil Emperor didn't explain anything. He just ordered his subordinates to do as they were told. Then, Lord Devil Emperor went to the sky of the immortal world and sat down. We, his trusted subordinates, stood behind him and watched as the people left the Yellow Springs immortal world. Suddenly, the great Emperor spoke. He pointed to the sky, the earth, the sun, the moon, and the stars, saying that the heavenly Tao was irreversible. He also told everyone that the Yellow Springs immortal world was about to be punished by the heavenly Tao. The tribulation aura was the power of the heavenly Tao's disdain. Everyone didn't believe him. There was no heavenly Tao, no punishment. If the heavenly Tao had eyes, the cultivation world would still be a world where the strong preyed on the weak. Although we had infinite regrets, we still followed Lord Demon Emperor's orders and started to move. Less than a month later, a blood-red flame suddenly appeared in the Yellow Springs immortal world. In the sky, a holy giant descended. The giant came too suddenly, and it spat out the word Ja toward the Yellow Springs immortal world. The sound of the word Ja was like a demonic sound. It came suddenly and with lightning speed. It arrived at the palace where Lord Demon Emperor was cultivating. At that moment, the giant spat out another flame. Before we could react, the barrier of the Yellow Springs immortal world was burned to ashes. It came too suddenly. We don't know where that giant came from, but we can be sure that it was the heavenly Tao's punishment that Lord Demon Emperor spoke of. Otherwise, how could it have such power to destroy the barrier of the Yellow Springs immortal world and render Lord Demon Emperor powerless to fight back? By the time we reacted, the barrier of the immortal world had already been destroyed. The experts and forces who had been watching from outside for a long time had also charged in. On one hand, they wanted to plunder the wealth, and on the other hand, they wanted to find the secret of Lord Demon Emperor's immortality. Everyone kicks a man who is down. At that moment, we all saw how powerless the immortal world was. Most of the experts began to resist the cultivators from all sides, and some began to retreat. When Baishan and I arrived at Lord Demon Emperor's training ground, we saw that Lord Demon Emperor had already turned white. After that, Yin Qianliu's tone was full of regret and unhappiness. You probably know what happened after that. The Yellow Spring immortal world was destroyed by countless forces. No matter if they were cultivators or ordinary people, they all died tragically under the butcher's knife. Mountains of corpses were left in the immortal world. When the Devil Emperor was still alive, he could scare them away with just one look. But now the Devil Emperor is gone. Now the Yellow Spring immortal world has become a thing of the past. Only a few words about the past can be found in ancient books. Time has passed, and most of the things in the past are like the sea turning into mulberry field. The only thing that the world knows is the glorious past of the Devil Emperor. Young man, this is the past of the Devil Emperor and the Yellow Spring immortal world. I just want to in silence and shock. Su Fang's eyes were still calm, and he replied in front of Yin Qianlu, "What can I, Junior Su Fang, get from Lord Demon Emperor's training ground?" Ha ha. Yin Qianlu suddenly laughed. What? Su Fang didn't understand. What an ambitious young man. Sure enough, the person that we have been waiting for, no, the person that Lord Demon Emperor has been waiting for, is a person who is surprisingly similar to Lord Demon Emperor. Finally, he has come. Yin Qianlu praised. If it was an ordinary person, they would definitely ask about everything about Lord Demon Emperor, or more stories about the Yellow Springs immortal world, or how Lord Demon Emperor fell. But when you heard these, your Tao heart was not affected at all. You still clearly know why you came here. Junior didn't think too much, and it's not as extraordinary as Senior said. I have seen countless people, how can I be wrong? Young man, what do you want me to tell you? Do you think I will tell you? When the boat comes to the bridgehead, everything will be fine. Even if you don't tell me, I can find the answer. You've obtained a lot of treasures and resources from Baishan, but compared to the former Yellow Springs immortal world, they're nothing. Young man, go to the Tao field. There's something I've given you there. you'll be able to travel quickly. There are many experts of the devil race outside. This formation has been lost for so many years, I don't think it can last much longer. Yes. Without hesitation, he urged the Yellow Springs Blood Sea to quickly pass through the depths of the bloody tunnel. It was 10 times faster than when he entered the 100 Virtues ancient demon Tao field. After a dozen breaths, the Yellow Springs Blood Sea finally flew out of the bloody light. In front of it was a cold and lonely hall. When he transformed into his original body, all he saw were treasure chests and ancient treasures. Sister Bai, Pern King, Undying Tortoise, help me seize the treasures. There were too many, a dazzling array of treasures. Su Fang immediately summoned 3 demon shadows. They were Bai Ling, Green Feather King, and Undying Tortoise. Then, the 3 big goblin rushed forward, opened their mouths, and breathed out demon chi, sucking the treasure chests into their bodies. Whoosh! Su Fang flew straight to an altar in the hall. There were many treasure chests here, and the closer he was to the center, the more incredible it was. In particular, he felt a strong aura of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor being released. Boom! Boom! Before he could make a move, the entire hall suddenly shook. An extremely young voice shouted from outside, I wonder which senior's consciousness is guarding the ruins. Please open the passage. I am the Demon Realm's messenger, and I have come to find everything about Senior Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. Senior Yellow Springs Devil Emperor failed in the past, and the immortal world he built was destroyed. Facts have proven that without the support of the demon realm, no demon cultivator can exist forever outside the demon realm. So arrogant. This voice. That's right, what a coincidence. It's the man who appeared from the mouth of the giant gorilla devil. In an instant, Su Fang recognized who this person was. Yin Qianlu quietly and calmly replied, When I was still alive, you devil world experts had to be polite to me. Although I have fallen, a young immortal is still sealed here. It is not something that a devil world junior like you can shout at. I know your strength is not simple, but I will not let you break the seal so easily. Since that is the case, I will offend you. That devilish man from the demon realm was probably going to forcefully attack the Tao field in the next moment. Young man, Su Fang, hurry up and take the treasures. Suddenly, Yin Qianliu's voice appeared on Su Fang's side, and a blood-colored devil chi also condensed and came to the center of the seal. I will leave you a few treasures. Forget about the magic treasures. Compared to the Demon Emperor's Tao field and the weapons of the Demon Emperor, my magic treasures are nothing, but 2 of the treasures are very important to you. The first is a rune, which is also a map. It records everything about the Demon Emperor's Tao field in detail. The Demon Emperor's Tao field is not ordinary, there are many mechanisms inside, and it is difficult to enter without a map. The other treasure is the Underworld Reincarnation Art, which is the most important of the Demon Emperor's several great abilities. Map of the Underworld Demon Emperor's Tao Field. Underworld Reincarnation Art. It was indeed a treasure among the treasures. Su Fang did not allow any explanation and immediately grabbed it into the seal. In the seal, there were indeed 2 big treasure boxes. Inside the treasure box was a rune and another blood-colored devil chi light. The most important thing in the entire ruins were these 2 treasures. Su Fang hurriedly absorbed them into his body. Turning around, he looked at the more than 10 top-grade Tao tools around him, as well as more ancient treasures. Su Fang also flashed, grabbing the treasures he saw into his palm. Boom! Unexpectedly, at the entrance of the ruins of the main hall, a hole was fiercely clawed out by a finger technique, and a dark hand appeared in the seal. The 9 nether heaven-covering hand of the demon realm is indeed powerful and overbearing. It is the top cultivation technique of the demon Tao forces in this great world. It was unknown where Yin Qianliu's praise came from. Su Fang hurriedly collected more treasures. Bai Ling, Green Feather King, and the Undying Tortoise also absorbed the treasures they saw into their bodies, one faster than the other. Senior Demon Dao, this junior greets you. You have already passed away, and with your current strength, you can no longer protect the tomb of the underworld Great Emperor. Boom. At the entrance of the seal, there was another black palm print that was about to completely shatter the seal. Chapter 11:26. Following that, Enchantment's essence soul voice sounded from everywhere. I haven't seen the 9 nether heaven covering hand for countless years. I didn't expect to see the power of the demon world at the last moment before my essence soul is extinguished. Pop, pop. The pitch-black hand once again shattered the seal of the main hall. Su Fong immediately sucked the 3 big goblin into his body. His ears suddenly turned cold. When he looked in front of him again, he saw that a hole had been opened in the entire seal. 2 figures condensed from that black handprint. They were 2 extremely beautiful demon world youths. One of them was the demon world man who appeared from the mouth of the giant gluttonous demon, Chi. It was this demon world man. Once he appeared, before his real body condensed, a mighty figure jumped out from his eyes. It instantly swept across the sky and grabbed at Su Fong. It felt like this palm's momentum was going to crush Su Fong into pieces. As for Su Fan himself, his angle was naturally different from the spectators. He saw that the demon world man's attack was so terrifying that it could turn the world upside down. He was facing a group of black beasts alone. And in less than a breath's time, the demon Chi black shadow formed a handprint. It directly made everything disappear, leaving only the sharpness of the claw. Whoosh! Su Fong was unable to react. The opponent's attack had reached the level of an elder. It contained a divine power that could destroy one's mind and Dao heart. A blood-colored figure condensed beside the demon Chi handprint in time. When the handprint was less than a meter away from Su Fong, he suddenly slammed into it. Pop, pop, pop. The demon Chi handprint was overturned and exploded in the air. Kid, what are you waiting for? You will definitely have to deal with the demon world in the future. You might not be their match now, but I'm not sure about the future. I'll take you away. The blood-colored figure condensed into Enchantment's shadow. It seemed like his momentum was weakened by more than half. He flashed in front of Su Fong and entered Su Fong's mind the moment Su Fong regained his senses and withdrew his divine light. As expected of an expert by the Yellow Spring Emperor's side. You're only a young immortal, but you can resist my move. At the seal, the 2 demon world experts condensed into real bodies. With a shout, they rushed toward the center of the altar like a gust of wind. Not! Su Fong also dodged to the back, striking out a blood-red ancient Devil Chi seal in midair. Suddenly, a Devil Chi whirlpool formed behind the main hall. Taking advantage of the 2 Devil Realm experts' pursuit, Su Fong was drawn into it like a gust of wind with an indifferent expression. The demonic Chi vortex began to disperse. As expected, there was already a passageway out of this ruin. For this kid to be able to obtain the protection of the will of the great power in this ruin, it must be related to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Dao field. Suddenly, the man from the Devil Realm used his pitch-black Devil Chi fingerprints to press down on the Devil Chi whirlpool. His 5 fingers were about 10 feet long, and they pressed down on most of the Devil Chi whirlpool. Little brats from the Devil World, go back and tell your current master that before him, the Yellow Spring Great Emperor will not join the Devil World. After him, the successor of the Great Emperor will not join the Devil World. Tell him to give up. Who would have thought that the sound of the void would once again resound in the ruins? Then, just as the demon world powerhouse was about to control the demonic Chi vortex under his 5 fingers, a terrifying demonic light suddenly condensed on the altar, engulfing the demon world powerhouse into it. The surrounding ruins also exploded. The ancient power of destruction drowned everything. At this moment, for Su Fong, he was in a very rumbling hazy space. In his mind, The blood-red will belonging to Qian Lu had finally merged with his sea of primordial spirit. This also meant that this ancient devil had finally dissipated. Whoosh, the hazy scene suddenly dissipated. A force of impact made Su Fang appear in an abyss of star fog. Looking around, this was a very rare vast abyss area. Turning around to look behind, it was a special abyss that looked like an underground mountain range, and there were bursts of tremors. It seemed that Qian Lu's ancient Devil Dao field was inside. I have to leave quickly. Knowing that Qian Lu's remnant will was using the ancient Devil Dao field to deal with those Devil Realm powerhouses, Su Fang immediately turned his aura into nothingness. With Ghostface Rakshasa, he didn't have to worry about his identity. Just as he took a step forward, unexpectedly, the Great Perfection ability suddenly sensed that there was a demonic chi in front of him, approaching at an astonishing speed. In an instant, 4 demonic chi appeared behind him, left and right at the same time. He was like a magnet, attracting the devil chi that was being released to him. It can't be. Only people from the Devil Realm have this ability. But that Devil Realm powerhouse is trapped in the ancient Devil Dao field. How could the Devil Realm powerhouse outside capture my aura so quickly? Run. He couldn't understand, but he knew in his heart that it must be a Devil Realm powerhouse. He couldn't escape in all directions, and even more so above. Su Fang frowned and looked down. With a quick step, he fell into the depths of the abyss as if he was weightless. In the blink of an eye, he disappeared into the star fog. After 3 breaths, 4 demonic chi figures suddenly appeared. They were 4 handsome and extremely beautiful men. They were almost the same as the 2 Devil Realm powerhouses in the ancient Devil Dao field. Their mannerisms and expressions, even if you didn't look carefully, you would think that they were brothers who looked exactly the same. The 4 of them instantly chased down into the abyss. Under the endless abyss, the airflow was too terrifying. Su Fang's aura was constantly being torn apart. He naturally didn't want to be sucked into that strange outer space again. Stepping on his feather fan, he saw a crack in the abyss or another abyss and hurriedly fled into it. The surface of the desolate lake astral world seemed to be a large continent, but in truth, deep underground, there were many abysses. It was as if the desolate land had been hollowed out. In this way, there were countless dangerous underground abysses. It was easy for cultivators to get lost, but it was also easy for them to hide in these abysses. They're following so closely. And these people are too powerful. Although they aren't as strong as that Devil Realm powerhouse from the ancient Devil Dao field, the 4 of them should be on par with Immortal Changgu. Half an incense stick later, they had escaped from the ancient Devil Dao field, where the airflow in the abyss was dangerous. But the Paragon saw that the 4 experts were getting closer and closer. Previously, they were still several kilometers away, but now they were less than a kilometer away. It seems that these people can easily track my movement. Could it be that they control my aura? Suddenly, he was overwhelmed with shock. He used the life-shrinking technique to completely strip away his fate and aura. At the same time, he used Night Demon's blood Hell Wolf smoke to take over his body with an unfamiliar energy. His aura suddenly became illusory. The effect was immediate. He deliberately fled deeper into the jet of airflow. The 4 of them were only able to catch up to him after a breath of time. Moreover, the 4 of them had split into 2 groups, chasing after him from the front. But now, he was only hiding his aura. How could he avoid 2 peerless experts when he was less than a kilometer away? Fortunately, 2 of them left. I must kill those 2. Alright, I'll drag them deeper into the abyss of airflow. At the very least, the other 2 experts won't be able to catch up too quickly. He made up his mind and continued to calculate. He continued to fly deeper into the abyss. The power of the jet of airflow nearly caused the feather fan to lose most of its effectiveness. But behind the Paragon, the 2 Devil Path experts were still moving at an astonishing speed. They were also afraid of the airflow, but they had enough strength to restrain and suppress it. Ghost God Heavenly Devil Movement Technique. Another hour passed. The distance between the two sides was about 100 meters. If it were any other powerhouse, then within this abyss of air currents, it would be difficult for any attack to penetrate this distance. But one of the demonic path masters was like a series of afterimages, shuttling back and forth step by step, his speed reaching the pinnacle. Even the airflow was penetrated. He's here. Su Fong suddenly stopped breathing at this moment. He turned around and found that the afterimage of the Devil Path expert had already reached 50 feet behind him in the airflow. He instantly raised his arm and struck out. Swish! The Devil Path afterimage was a Devil Path expert. In the blink of an eye, the distance of 50 feet was reduced to 10 feet. He jumped in front of Su Fong almost out of thin air. With a ferocious smile, he grabbed at Su Fong. Almost at the same time, a black shadow condensed in front of Su Fong. The Devil Path expert's five-fingered handprint caught the giant shadow. Boom! The soul-shaking palm and the giant shadow collided with a deafening sound. The Devil Path expert's handprint was shattered, and the giant shadow was also shaken back, condensing into the true state of the devil puppet. What a powerful strength! He can use his strength to directly contend with the devil puppet. He had met his match. Su Fong thought that the devil puppet could stop the other party a moment ago. But with this look, his heart was even more unbalanced. Chi! Another attack was launched, followed by an explosion from the Devil Realm expert. Obviously, the other party would not give Su Fong any chance. A devil sword pierced through the air. It looked like a simple attack, but unexpectedly, this sword was able to cut through the airflow. Although the sword's momentum was not terrifying, the momentum of this magic treasure was enough to cut through the airflow. It also meant that the natural airflow around the danger zone could no longer shackle the power of this devil sword. Go! This was the first time Su Fong had seen such a situation. With a stagger, he controlled the devil puppet to wave its arms and launch an attack. The giant devil puppet was not afraid at all. It loyally pounced forward and hit the top of the devil sword with its palm. Clang! The light from the collision caused Su Fong's muscles to twitch. Clang! 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 The Devil Path expert suddenly attacked the devil puppet from 10 feet away with an astonishing movement technique. He held the devil sword in his hand, and it was a devil sword that had reached the pinnacle of high grade. Its quality was about the same as the devil puppet. Therefore, the devil sword was firm and unwavering. Under the Devil Path expert's attack, it nimbly stabbed and slashed around the devil puppet. Where do you think you're going? He did not expect that the second Devil Path expert would also attack from above. This person was different. The magic treasure in his hand was not a flying sword, but a circular flying knife magic treasure formed by 5 flying knives. Shio! 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 The flying knife magic treasure suddenly rotated in a strange arc and attacked in front of Su Fong. Hua! He waved his hand and threw it. Another devil puppet blocked in front of him. It was hit in the chest by the flying knife. The two cold weapons retreated at the same time and fiercely attacked each other. Moreover, the circular flying knife magic treasure also sprayed poison from time to time. This was a terrifying magic treasure that gave the Righteous Path cultivators a headache. Moreover, its attack method was also strange. It was like a spinning top that attacked the devil puppet back and forth. Clang! 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 In front of Su Fong, if it was not the flying sword, it was the deafening sound of the circular flying knife and the two devil puppets fighting. Fortunately, the devil puppet was refined by 2 ancient devils. Otherwise, if it was an ordinary magic treasure, it would have been suppressed by the opponent. Boom! What he did not expect was, after a series of attacks, the Devil Realm man holding the devil sword suddenly changed. Under Su Fongda's perfect ability, the skin on this handsome man's face began to tear. His facial muscles also squirmed, and then the muscles of his whole body began to swell. After most of his skin was torn off, his face was no longer handsome. Instead, it was the face of an ugly middle-aged cultivator. Additionally, this person had a single horn on his head. His ears stood erect like those of a bat and his chin was sharp. Even his arms and legs were somewhat deformed. Heavenly Demon. Supreme Heavenly Demon. When he transformed into the Heavenly Demon, he took advantage of the devil sword to attack the devil puppet. The devil horn on his head suddenly hit the devil sword puppet's chest. Another sword also hit the devil horn's central position. Then the devil puppet unexpectedly began to shatter. Chapter 11:27. My devil weapon. The ancient treasure actually shattered. Su Fang's heart felt like it was being cut by a knife. At almost the same time, the devil expert who had transformed into the celestial devil waved his devil sword and shook off the broken pieces of the devil weapon. He coldly sized up Su Fang. The celestial devil's eyes were like blood-colored bat. Obediently return with us. A human brat like you isn't a match for a celestial devil like me. Even your human elder-level experts will only die if they meet me. It seems you know I'm not easy to deal with, so you're trying to convince me. Good, I can also quickly merge the two devil weapons I got from Qianlu. It's good to stall for time. While the celestial devil hadn't attacked yet, and the other devil expert hadn't destroyed the devil weapon yet, Su Fang suddenly asked, "Your devil world is incomparably powerful. Why do you insist on obtaining the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's things? Rumor has it that the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor controls life and death. My devil world needs this method. Furthermore, there are many records of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's totems in my devil world's ancient texts. He can already be considered a member of my devil world." The celestial devil coldly replied. Su Fang suspiciously asked, "Didn't your devil race disappear from this immortal domain long ago? I want to submit to you. With your devil race's strength that has disappeared for so many years, how can you establish a foothold in this immortal domain?" Disappeared? My devil race has never disappeared. We have always been secretly expanding our strength in all kinds of dangerous places, ancient ruins, desolate lands, and outer space. The immortal Tao thinks we are hiding. We only like the darkness, and we grow faster in the darkness. After so many years, we have captured a large number of human women and continued to reproduce. Our strength is something your righteous Tao cannot imagine. Furthermore, my devil race is not just in this immortal domain. Our devil world is hidden outside the immortal domain, and we are constantly growing stronger in the vast starry river. Soon, my devil race will wantonly spread to the immortal domain. Rumor has it that the devil world was forced to disappear because of the immortal Tao. How can it be a match for the immortal Tao now? Haha, you brat, your vision is too shallow. The rise of my devil world will cause the immortal Tao to tremble and collapse. Now give me a word and you'll obediently submit. The celestial devil suddenly threw out a forceful sentence. Surrender? Su Fang sneered. I, Ghostface Rakshasa, have never submitted to anyone. I won't submit to anyone, let alone you, the heavenly demon. Kill him. If we can't capture him, our Lord can use a forbidden art to reincarnate his primordial spirit. On the other side, the devil also transformed into a celestial devil. Furthermore, he was suppressing the devil soldier puppet and would probably shatter the devil soldier puppet soon. You've wasted so much of my saliva. Kid, hand over your life. This is your life. The heavenly demon roared angrily. The demon's sword in its hand slashed apart the air in front of it, and it pointed at Su Fang's forehead. Pa! Two giant puppets shot out from Su Fang's eyes. He managed to block the demonic sword in time. However, just the fiend puppets alone would probably only be able to stop Skyfiends, and two Skyfiends at that. Su Fong could flee right now, but he wasn't completely confident that he could. His eyes grew cold as he performed a hand seal. The heartless sword spy appeared in midair and shot out 18 heartless flying swords. At the same time, 18 experts also appeared around Su Fong. As soon as they appeared, they grabbed the heartless flying swords and flew away before the two Skyfiends could react. Where did so many cultivators come from? The two Skyfiends were shocked. Why were there suddenly so many human cultivators? Although the strength of these human cultivators wasn't as strong as theirs, the important thing was that there were so many of them. In fact, at this moment, Su Fong could let the 18 experts stay behind and abandon them. He could let them work together to deal with the two Skyfiends. This way, he could use the Wooling Goblin ability to escape. However, although they were slaves, these people had contributed. Su Fong could abandon them, but he definitely wouldn't let the people around him die. Heartless Sword Formation. The 18 experts had already completed their hand seals. The heartless flying swords in their hands pierced out, forming a sword formation that shackled the space where the two Skyfiends were. Heavenly Secret Life Shrinking Technique stripped the aura of this space. Su Fong used another mystic technique, and used the Heavenly Secret Life Shrinking Technique to conceal most of the aura of this abyss. He couldn't let the other two experts come. At this moment, Su Fong looked coldly in front of him. The two Skyfiends were trapped in the sword formation. In addition, the two demonic puppets were holding back the two of them. He could completely escape. But if he really left like this, what would happen to the demonic puppets and the 18 experts? Therefore, he formed another hand seal and released more experts. More than 10 slave experts also appeared around him. Brother! Even Bai Ling came out. Su Fong looked at her. Sister Bai, stay by the side. The Chaos Ring is very powerful. If we can't suppress the two Skyfiends, use the Chaos Ring to kill any one of them that comes out. Alright, now I can use the Chaos Ring without restrictions. I've already mastered the Tao of Chaos. Bai Ling was very excited. After coming to the Great World, she had been hiding in the Dharma treasure space. Now, she could finally come out to take a breather. Boom! Boom! In the sword formation, the two Skyfiends were actually suppressing the two demonic puppets. Moreover, the attacks of the sword formation were also neutralized by the two of them. Strong. At this moment, the two demonic Tao experts were no longer as strong as before. They were Skyfiends. Once they transformed into Skyfiends, their strength would naturally increase by several times. His strength exceeded that of the Blood Monarch and the Ba Demon Monarch. With more than a dozen experts, Su Fong instantly circulated all the true qi in his body, causing the surrounding experts to circulate their true qi and dermic powers into his body. He gathered the strength of more than a dozen experts and grabbed the sword case. He fused with the emotionless sword formation and the 18 experts to strengthen the sword seal. Immediately, the sword formation became stronger. The sword qi inside turned into a huge sword qi. The sword qi was like a sword stream, catching the two Skyfiends off guard. This was Su Fong's current overall strength. He could already fight with the peerless experts of the current era. Of course, the price of this kind of battle was very shocking. 2 of the 4 demonic puppets had already been destroyed by the Skyfiends. This scene was of more than 30 experts besieging 2 Skyfiends. If not for the 2 demonic puppets entangling the Skyfiends, their strength and their own abilities, coupled with their Dharma treasures, would not have been a big problem to fight against the emotionless sword formation. After all, the emotionless sword spy was a high-grade Dharma treasure. Although it was a sword spy, it was still difficult to suppress the 2 Skyfiends. The sword formation that gathered everyone's strength kept pressuring the 2 Skyfiends. The 2 of them began to be injured, but what made Su Fong's heart ache was that the 2 Skyfiend puppets had already been heavily injured by the Skyfiends. There were many signs of damage. It was estimated that the 4 demonic puppets would be destroyed in this battle. Ogre Demon. seeing that Su Fang's side had the advantage. But the two Sky Fiends suddenly released their demonic chi, each releasing a huge ogre demon. Although they were not as large as the huge ogre demon that Su Fang suppressed, they were not much smaller. The moment they appeared, the two ogre demons did not attack. While releasing their poisonous gas, they actually spat out blood-colored demonic chi, which was absorbed by the two Sky Fiends. After absorbing it, the Sky Fiend's strength became terrifying again. After a few attacks, they destroyed the two demonic puppets with the Sky Fiend horn. Damn it! He did not expect the two Sky Fiends to be so heaven-defying. Ogre demons. Su Fang had neglected the ogre demons. It was difficult for an ordinary cultivator to have a ogre demon. Even if they did, it was not too terrifying. Sky Fiends of this level would definitely have powerful ogre demons and terrifying demonic cultivation technique. Oh no, if this continues, the two Sky Fiends will have enough strength to destroy the demonic puppets. Maybe even the emotionless flying sword will be destroyed. His heart suddenly jumped. At this moment, his thoughts were like a tide pounding the table. He suddenly asked the dozen experts around him to retreat with him, no longer cooperating with the 18 experts. Then, he retreated a little, flipped his hand, and an ancient demonic chi slowly appeared. Brother, why don't I do it? Bai Ling could also see that Su Fang was in a difficult situation. The only one who could help him now was Bai Ling, the other big goblin could not do it. No, Sister Bai, the two Sky Fiends are really powerful now. Although the Chaos Ring is also powerful, your strength is not as strong as the Sky Fiends. I will not take the risk for you. Don't worry, I have a way. Su Fang instantly smiled. It was the same smile he had in the past. Then, Mao Chong appeared beside him. When he saw the shocking Dharma treasure Xian Guang appear in Su Fang's hand, he revealed a shocked expression. Su Fang decisively shouted, "This is one of the few supreme-grade Dao artifacts that I obtained from the 100 Virtues Ancient Demon Dojo. It is called the Immortal Piercing Blade. I will give it to you now. I will help you fuse with the dozen experts and use all our strength to help you activate it and kill the two Sky Fiends." Immortal Piercing Blade. A supreme-grade Dao artifact that came from the 100 Virtues Ancient Demon Dojo. Master. Mao Chong was too excited. I, Su Fang, have been through countless life and death situations in the small world. After coming to the great world, I have been enduring in order to increase my strength. Now I don't need to. Although the two Sky Fiends are terrifying, I have many ways to deal with them. Begin. With the power of a ruler, he waved his hands and brought Mao Chong to the center. Then, the dozen experts activated their quintessential Qi and Dermic powers. Qi. Mao Chong also controlled his quintessential blood and dripped it on the Immortal Piercing Blade. Su Fang also used his quintessential life shrinking technique to forcefully envelop Mao Chong and the Immortal Piercing Blade. At this time, Su Fang was no longer a profound immortal. He had absorbed the power of the dozen experts and used the quintessential life shrinking technique to the level of experts like Mao Chong. Therefore, the Immortal Piercing Blade reacted and moved. It vaguely sensed that Su Fang's body had the power of the 100 Virtues Ancient Demon Dojo and a supreme power that allowed it to fuse with it. So, Mao Chong was shocked to see his quintessential blood fusing with the Immortal Piercing Blade easily. The ability to allow an expert to fuse with a supreme-grade Dao artifact was also an ability that outsiders could not have. At least, no cultivator in the heavenly immortal realm could do such a miracle. Boom! Unexpectedly, a metal explosion came from the sword formation in the distance. It turned out that the Sky Fiend had used a dermic treasure and divine ability to destroy the merciless flying sword. The merciless flying sword. His heart ached. It seemed that the merciless flying sword could not be saved. He let the 18 experts release all their quintessential Qi and dermic powers to activate the merciless flying sword. People. or dermic treasures. If he wanted to save Su Fang, he would not hesitate to choose the former. People were the most important. Although he was reluctant to part with the merciless flying sword that had repeatedly solved his problems for him, no one could say for sure about the matters of cultivation. I don't want the merciless flying sword. Use all your strength to use the sword formation to entangle the Skyfiend. Just hold on for a while. Su Fang secretly transmitted his voice. The surrounding experts felt the pressure of life and death. They were almost suffocating. At this moment, they deeply understood that if they did not help Su Fang win, they would fall into the hands of the two Skyfiends and end up like the two gorilla demons, becoming the two Skyfiends' cultivation tools. That was a real life worse than death. Buzz. Half an hour later, the immortal piercing blade that was floating in the power of Mao Chang and the others suddenly released a dazzling demonic light. Mao Chang reached out and held it tightly in his hand. Chapter 11:28. Mao Chang had fused with the immortal piercing blade. Hurry up and master the simplest attack hand seals. When the time comes, we will activate the immortal piercing blade with all our strength. Su Fang looked at Mao Chang anxiously. Master, don't worry. I can already feel its murderous aura. The latter had fused with a top-grade Dao artifact. His demeanor and tone were different. Coupled with his powerful strength, this divine artifact was almost tailor-made for him. I have to continue concealing the aura. I have to cover such a large area of the abyss and cut the aura. Suddenly, in Su Fang's long black hair, near his temples, a grayish-white color had appeared. Heaven's secret life shrinking technique. It had been a long time since he used this forbidden technique. Every time he used it, it would bring serious side effects to Su Fang. The huge consumption of life force was a cruel and slow suicide. Not everyone had the courage to watch their life slowly slip away in front of their eyes. In order to cover such a shocking abyss space, and to stop the airflow, Su Fang had no choice but to keep using the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique. Therefore, the grayish-white strands kept increasing. It felt like he was slowly being covered by frost. Immortal piercing blade. Many experts were attracted by the top-grade Dao artifact in Mao Chang's hands. Immortal piercing blade. The peerless treasure left behind by the 100 Virtues ancient demon was also a top-grade Dao artifact. Compared to most Dao artifacts, it could be said to be the king of Dao artifacts. Dao artifacts were like cultivators. The higher the quality, the more powerful and domineering it was. A low-grade Dao artifact had no majesty in front of a mid-grade Dao artifact. A mid-grade Dao artifact could directly crush a low-grade Dao artifact. The difference between a top-grade Dao artifact and a high-grade Dao artifact was so shocking. It was also Su Fang's first time seeing the fused immortal piercing blade. This Dao artifact was like a sword but not a sword. It was 3 feet long, like a pen, and chopsticks like an enlarged silver needle. If it was a sword, then the immortal piercing blade was also a kind of sword. After all, the aura of the immortal piercing blade was sword chi. But the method of activation and the various seals were different from flying swords. Boom! Time passed by. From the sword formation in the distance, there were a few more shattering sounds. Obviously, the two sky demons absorbed the power of the gluttonous demon and shattered the emotionless flying swords. Master, this subordinate can barely activate it once. Mao Chang suddenly suppressed his aura and looked at Su Fang and the others with anticipation in his eyes. In that case, you can start activating the immortal piercing blade. We'll approach the sword formation together. When we reach the peak, we'll activate the Dao treasure with our combined strength. He leaped to his feet. This time, the crowd was no longer centered around Su Fang, but Mao Chang. The immortal piercing blade exuded a faint ancient aura. As Mao Chang continued to form seals, the immortal piercing blade could clearly be seen expanding and extending. When they finally arrived in front of the sword formation, Su Fang took advantage of the fact that the two sky demons were being suppressed by the merciless flying swords and the sword formation. Su Fang ordered the 18 experts to activate the sword formation with all their might. Buzz buzz. Almost at the same time, the surrounding experts also injected their mana and vital energy into Su Fang's body. Through the Su Fang's hand seal, the great supernatural power was added to Mao Chang's body. At this moment, Mao Chang seemed to have Su Fang's ability to absorb everyone's energy. His aura suddenly changed as he stared at the two heavenly demons. Suddenly, his palms struck the immortal piercing blades. Swoosh! The immortal piercing blade became more than 5 feet long, emitting a silver light, but there wasn't much demonic energy. Like a meteor cutting through the night sky, it left a silver light and suddenly pierced into the sword formation. Everyone's eyes could hardly keep up with the speed of the immortal piercing blade. It was too terrifying. A supreme-grade Dao treasure was at least 10 times more powerful than a high-grade Dao treasure. Even the elders couldn't activate much power of a supreme-grade Dao treasure. Therefore, many experts had supreme-grade Dao treasures, but they rarely used them. Because once they used them, they could absorb most of the cultivator's power. For example, at this time, Su Fang and a dozen experts, including Mao Chang, were all sweating like beans. Puff! In the blink of an eye, under everyone's gaze, the immortal piercing blade pierced through the sword formation. When the two sky demons appeared, one of them was too unlucky. The other couldn't react in time. Even if he appeared, he couldn't dodge. He could only activate the Dao treasure in his hand to defend. One of them released the flying knife wheel to protect the front, but the immortal piercing blade was one step ahead. The sharp tip of the blade had already made the sky demon despair. It instantly pierced between his eyebrows. This sky demon probably couldn't understand why he was hit by the immortal piercing blade when he clearly activated the flying knife wheel to defend and block the immortal piercing blade. It turned out, the immortal piercing blade pierced between his eyebrows. The aura of the Dharma treasure hit his head and exploded from the inside. At this moment, he knew that the immortal piercing blade was a supreme-grade Dao treasure. Boom! The sky demon's head was like a sandbag that had lost gravity. It exploded and scattered, but it wasn't sand, but blood and minced meat. The other sky demon was furious and went berserk. It was as if he had entered the nightmare blood transformation state. A large number of blood marks grew on his body, and his demonic energy burned. He stepped on the gluttonous demon and waved the demon's sword in his hand, trying to escape. One by one, the gluttonous demon poured power into the sword. The demon's sword suppressed the ruthless flying swords flying everywhere. Whoosh! At this moment, the immortal piercing blade returned to Mao Chang's hand with blood chi. When the surrounding experts saw the immortal piercing blade again, they couldn't help but exhale a breath of cold air. Powerful, too domineering. Activate it again. Don't worry about your true chi. Now we can already refine middle-grade yin-yang immortal sky pills. In addition, we have spirit veins, ancient spiritual objects and pills. Let's go all out and kill the sky demon. Su Fang turned around and looked at everyone. Suddenly, he smiled sinisterly. I think you've never killed a sky demon as happily as you did today, right? No. Everyone seemed to be infected by Su Fang's demonic smile. No one cared about their true chi and dharma powers. Even the power of their golden cores was activated crazily. Everyone's power was injected into Su Fang's body again. More than half of Su Fang's body had turned pale white. It was colorless and soft, and it fluttered in the wind. Like an old man, everyone's dharma powers and true chi were injected into Mao Chang's body. Mao Chang also seemed to have eaten a powerful pill. His body suddenly moved. After forming a seal, countless Xian Guang wrapped around the immortal piercing blade. Su Fang transmitted his voice to the sword formation. Everyone, use the emotionless sword formation to directly form a defense and seal to lock the sky demon. The next attack of the immortal piercing blade must kill this person. Master, what about the 2 ogre demons? The others asked. Kill the sky demon. I'll use the sky demon blood plate to shackle the ogre demons. Kill. Su Fang's voice was like thunder. Good baby, go. Mao Chang was like caressing his lover. Another wave of majestic power rushed forward and hit the immortal piercing blade. The latter pierced through the air again, and pierced into the sword formation that seemed to have disappeared in the blink of an eye. Everyone widened their eyes and looked over again. The sword formation didn't disappear. Instead, the other sword seals and sword chi had all disappeared, and the remaining flying swords were directly connected to each other. Some of them blocked the extraterrestrial demon that was charging out, and some of them blocked the surroundings. Then, like a sword snake, they surrounded the extraterrestrial demon with a swoosh. I didn't expect to die in the hands of ants like you. Master will avenge me. The demon realm will eventually devour the immortal Tao and turn you into ants under the demon realm's feet. Your women will become our demon fetus and be played by us. Your descendants will become the food of the demon race. Ha! How could the sky demon suddenly become so strong that it could deal with so many high-grade flying swords alone? He also knew the power of the immortal piercing blade. He suddenly raised his head and turned into torrential demon flames. Your demon chi won't spread. No one will know that you died here. Su Fang's primordial spirit voice also exploded. Clang! Boom! Poof! The silver light pierced through the air again. Although the sky demon expert knew that it was a dead end, he still used the demon sword in his hand to block in front of him. However, the immortal piercing blade pierced through the air and pierced the demon sword. This high-grade Tao artifact immortal stone shook and was cut in half by the immortal piercing blade. It then stabbed into the sky demon's head. What happened next was the same as the previous sky demon. Its head was blown apart by the immortal piercing blade's powerful aura, turning it into a headless body. Su Fang suddenly nodded and took a step back. He spat out a mouthful of demon chi. Sky demon blood plate, suppress these 2 gorilla devils. You guys help seal these 2 sky demon corpses. Everyone immediately shot out the sky demon blood plate to suppress the 2 gorilla devils. As for Su Fang, he looked at the sky demon's demon chi. It was currently attacking and burning. It was the heavenly fate life shrinking art's wondrous divine might. Once it passed through this divine might, the sky demon chi would be released. Then, the more powerful demon realm lord would be able to kill his way here in less than 10 breaths. At that level, probably only the Grand Elder and the Master of the Immortal World would be able to fight them. He couldn't let the demon chi pass through this divine might. There was no chance of that happening. He put his hands together and once more activated the heavenly fate life shrinking art. He also spat out a burst of pure yang true flame. His perfect eye energy surged out. Zzz. The burning demon chi in midair was instantly corroded by an invisible divine might. Coupled with the pure yang true flame, the demon chi was incinerated into sparks and disappeared. At this moment, Su Fang's remaining black skin was instantly turned white. Because at this moment, he had activated the heavenly fate life shrinking art to the extreme. His life force seemed to have been sucked dry. He estimated that his lifespan had been reduced by at least a few thousand years. Ordinary immortals only had a lifespan of a few thousand years. For a sky immortal like Su Fang, his lifespan couldn't exceed 10,000 years, unless he constantly cultivated and broke through. Therefore, he had used at least half of his lifespan this time. If he really couldn't cultivate, increase his strength, and recover his life force, then with his remaining lifespan, even if he could cultivate, he could only live for a few thousand years. Moreover, a part of the demon chi was still burning. Therefore, his lifespan was still being consumed, and it was becoming more and more terrifying. Half an hour later, Su Fang's hands hung limply. Just as he was about to faint, fortunately, Bai Ling had been guarding him. She knew the side effects of the heavenly fate life shrinking art. Supporting Su Fang, Bai Ling was very worried. Su Fang hurriedly swallowed the elixir, controlled the true qi in his body, and ignited the pure yang true flame. Only then did he slowly return to normal, but he was already a white-haired middle-aged man. At the same time, more than 30 experts had tied up the two gorilla demons. With the help of the heavenly devil blood plate. Knowing that time was of the essence, the surroundings were extremely dangerous. Urging the crucible transformation Xian Guang, the experts returned to the crucible transformation world. The two gorilla demons were also sucked into the heavenly devil blood plate, and two heavenly devil corpses. Until the Wooling Goblin and the Green Feather King appeared. The Wooling Goblin sucked the three people into its stomach in one gulp. It then turned into more than 10 feet long and drilled into a cliff near the abyss. It quickly escaped along the cliff and the dangerous airflow. Inside the belly, Su Fang was so tired that he couldn't stop breathing. Bai Ling stood guard at his side. The Green Feather King turned into a familiar blue-robed man. After caring for him for a while, he looked at Su Fang in a new light. This time we have experienced life and death again. Boy, now we have the strength to compete with the powerhouses. We can finally establish ourselves in the outside world. From now on, we can do whatever we want. Chapter 11:29. Bai Ling also said with a smile, Pring King is right. Humph, we have been stifled in the outside world for so many years. We can finally hold our heads up high. In the future, we will join forces in the small world and create a world that belongs to us. We will do whatever we need to do. We can't come to the outside world in vain. This time, he really gained confidence and courage. Happy. He didn't kill ordinary cultivators, but demon world. The powerhouses from the demon world were not only terrifying in strength, but their abilities were also extremely terrifying. This was even more exciting than killing some elders. After a few hours, Wooling Goblin slowed down. Using his great perfection ability, there were indeed no cultivators nearby. Moreover, it was also an abyss. It was estimated to be at least 100 miles away from the ancient demon Dao field. It was safe enough. Those people were looking for treasures near the ancient demon Dao field. How could there be people here? Setting up the array, the wasteland didn't have much spiritual energy. Su Fang didn't let the 30 or so experts out to cultivate. He also let Bai Ling and Green Feather King return to the crucible transformation space. He took out a lot of yin-yang immortal sky pills and gave them to the 30 or so experts, as well as high-grade ancient pills and ordinary pills. He also took out a few ordinary spirit veins and put them into the crucible transformation space for everyone to cultivate. Su Fang also took out a spirit vein and put it into the abyss's array. This way, he could use the spirit vein to gather the small amount of spiritual energy in the wasteland. After doing all this, he should have settled down. Suddenly, his breathing still didn't return to normal. The demon world's experts are too powerful. They will definitely find some clues in the ancient demon Dao field. The 4 major forces will also find some cultivators who have once controlled or obtained items and magic treasures related to the Yellow Springs Demon Emperor. I don't have much time. I have to recover as soon as possible and then find the Yellow Springs Demon Emperor's Dao field. There was a reason for his nervousness. This experience had caused Su Fang to become even more mature and far-sighted. But without strength, he couldn't stop all this. After the spirit vein was prepared, he used the spirit gathering array and the ethereal truth to gather the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. In this abyss, he slowly gathered some true qi. Of course, this was far from enough to recover his true qi and become stronger. His head of black hair was nowhere to be seen, and his hair was completely white. He looked like a powerful elder or higher-level figure, his eyes full of profoundness. He began to devour the medicinal pills, madly devouring them. 10 pills, 10 pills, he continued to devour. He also activated the 9 Yang 9 transformations. His 9 Yang true energy and 9 Yang true flames burned furiously. The world fragments divine might also seeped out. Together with the ethereal true scripture, it gathered the spiritual energy of heaven and earth in the deep abyss. After doing all this, some true qi flowed into Su Fang's body. He quickly peeled off a Yang immortal and sent it into the crucible transformation cauldron. Crucible transformation space. The Yang immortal stepped into this place and saw the experts absorbing spirit veins, pills, and spiritual items to recover. With a thought, 2 headless bodies and 2 gluttonous demons appeared in the air. You forced me to lose the 4 great puppet devil soldiers and the emotionless sword spy. You caused me to lose most of my true qi and exhausted my life essence. Then I'll use you to recover. It turned out that Su Fang already had a way to recover and become stronger. The Yang immortal then left the crucible transformation cauldron and let his main body enter the crucible transformation cauldron. The Yang immortal controlled the array formation from the outside, allowing the array formation to continue absorbing the heaven and earth spiritual qi. His main body appeared in the crucible transformation array. Seeing the 2 heavenly demon corpses and the gluttonous demon shadows, he was overjoyed. After arranging the array, Su Fang sat cross-legged in it. In an instant, he spat out the heavenly demon blood plate. Then, a demonic light descended from the heavenly demon blood plate. The demonic light shackled the 2 gluttonous demons. Under the might of the heavenly demon blood plate, the 2 gluttonous demons had already surrendered, afraid that Su Fang would kill them. Of course, these 2 gluttonous demons couldn't be easily killed. Without spiritual energy, I can't break through in a short time. I can't increase my life essence quickly. Only by devouring the life essence of the gluttonous demons and the headless corpses can I increase my life essence. At this moment, Su Fang was facing many difficulties, especially in the aspect of life essence. If he couldn't replenish his life essence, he couldn't use the Heaven's secret life shrinking technique. Moreover, life essence would seriously affect his overall strength, such as the ability of his true body. Fortunately, when he encountered the heavenly demon and experienced a life and death battle, he already knew how to recover his life essence. Crucible transformation power. After forming a seal, a black fiendish qi appeared in the array and began to wrap around the 2 headless corpses. These were the corpses of the heavenly demons. The wondrous refining ability of the crucible transformation power seemed to have a corrosive ability as it constantly revolved around the headless corpses. As for the 2 gluttonous demons, he naturally wouldn't kill them. After suppressing them and returning them to the heavenly demon blood plate, 3 ordinary gluttonous demons would appear. Originally, there were 7 gluttonous demons. 3 of them had been given to the Lord of 5 poisons. Of the remaining 4, 1 was a giant gluttonous demon. Now that he had obtained 2 great gluttonous demons, the other 3 ordinary gluttonous demons weren't very useful. In truth, they were useful, but in order to recover his strength, he had no choice but to kill the 3 gluttonous demons and leave the 3 largest ones for cultivation. Before the 3 gluttonous demons could react, they had just appeared from the heavenly demon blood plate when the plate suddenly swept over and dealt heavy blows to their heads. The gluttonous demons trembled and evil consciousness spread out from their heads. Then, their bodies tilted and they fell to the ground, no longer moving. The crucible transformation power also began to revolve around the 3 gluttonous demons. As for this book, the crucible transformation power had already begun to refine the power of the headless corpses of the 2 heavenly demons. Some blood-colored liquid seemed to be about to drip out. Yellow Spring's blood sea. After forming a seal, the body collapsed. It turned into an astonishing 200 zhang long pool of blood. Some of you are demonic cultivators. I will bestow the heavenly demon blood to you. Cultivate well, and you will gradually turn from true demons to heavenly demons. Just as he was about to devour the blood-colored essence refined from the corpses of the two heavenly demons, Su Fang first dripped the essence into the bodies of some demonic cultivators. Many of them were demonic cultivators suppressed by Su Fang, especially those demonic cultivators refined in the snake spirit immortal swallowing cauldron. In this way, these ordinary demonic immortals would have heavenly demon genes. Through cultivation, once they had enough strength, they would be able to transform their bodies into heavenly demons. As for the heavenly demon blood and its essence, Su Fang could not give it to other slaves, not even the big goblin. This was because the slightest bit of power from these demonic world heavenly demons would affect righteous cultivators. Not only their bodies but also their minds. It was easy to cause them to go berserk, such as the blood transformation of the nightmare. In fact, Su Fang was also a little worried. After all, it was the power of the demonic world heavenly demons. Even if he devoured it, it would more or less affect his future. For example, when he cultivated the heavenly demon book, he mainly used the golden core origin. The demonic chi was shackled in the golden core. But now that he had devoured the heavenly demon blood, part of the heavenly demon's power would seep into his body. Only his true chi would be sealed in the golden core. Once his body had the power of the demonic race, it would inevitably affect his future cultivation. The most obvious point was that if he activated his blood transformation true body, it might be difficult to suppress the will of the nightmare. It was very likely that his blood transformation true body would suddenly turn into a nightmare, then fall into the demonic path and become a heavenly demon. Su Fang did not shrink back. The yellow spring blood sea surged wildly. When the first drop of the heavenly demon's blood essence fell into the blood sea, it caused a demonic chi flame to burn in the blood sea. When the second and third drops merged with the blood sea, the demonic chi flame became more terrifying. Moreover, the two heavenly demons' golden cores still had some power. Su Fang was also directly absorbing the heavenly demon's demonic path true chi. On the other side, the crucible transformation force also refined the three gorilla devils alive. In order to not be affected by the poison, Su Fang let Gue Gue appear. The crucible transformation force only had the power to refine, but it would not refine the poison, unless Su Fang interfered. But now, Su Fang did not have the spare energy to do this. When the essence refined from the gorilla devils was highly toxic, Gue Gue appeared. Too smart. Gue Gue greedily wanted to swallow the essence, but she did not have the courage to do so. She shrank her neck and could only suck the poison from the essence. The remaining gorilla devil's life essence also fell into the yellow spring blood sea drop by drop. The blood sea below continued to devour the essence. Su Fang also condensed from the blood sea. On one hand, he used the yellow spring blood sea to cultivate. On the other hand, he condensed his body and could also stimulate the 9 Yang 9 transformations to cooperate with his recovery. Moreover, he continued to take out pills, all of which were high-grade pills. He took out 10 pills at a time and let the yellow spring blood sea crazily devour them. Ordinary people would find it difficult to suppress the efficacy of one pill, but he was 10 times the ordinary person. Maintaining this state as it devoured more and more essence, it was crazy and terrifying life essence. The yellow spring blood sea was almost covered by the flame of life. At the same time, in Su Fang's mind, a dozen ruthless flying swords appeared after the explosion. As a result, each of them had traces of fragmentation. None of them were intact. The two heavenly demons were too terrifying. They could even destroy a high-grade Dao artifact. The ruthless swords were destroyed. The 4 great demonic puppet soldiers were also destroyed. The 2 Dao artifacts that I am most proficient in are now goodbye. I have to find another Dharma artifact, and it has to be a very useful one. If it was the Xianwang Six Paths Pagoda, the Starry Daylight Sword, or the Flaming Cloud Spirit Gourd, I'm afraid they would not be able to withstand a single blow from the heavenly demons. The Dharma artifacts that I used in the small world, such as the small universe immortal pot and some other Dharma artifacts, can only be sealed up. Dharma artifacts. He was reluctant to part with them, but the ruthless swords were already destroyed. He had to find another Dharma artifact. Among the wealth of the two ancient devils, there are still a dozen supreme-grade Tao artifacts, such as the soul-chasing devil sword. I think the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's Tao field must have a peerless Tao artifact. Moreover, I have obtained the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's inheritance and can activate those Dharma artifacts. Therefore, I don't need to find another Dharma artifact to cultivate. I can directly activate the Heavenly Demon Blood Plate or use my ability to suppress expert. After thinking about it, he put away the broken ruthless swords. For the time being, he did not want to fuse with other Dharma artifacts. Fortunately, Mao Chang was cultivating the immortal piercing blade. With this supreme-grade Tao artifact, he could deal with many experts. In addition, he also had the Heavenly Demon Blood Plate. Su Fang was constantly absorbing the Heavenly Demon Essence and the Gluttonous Devil Essence. He was also cultivating the 9 Yang 9 transformations and swallowing elixirs. Now, his recovery speed was shocking. If an ordinary expert was injured to this extent, it would take at least hundreds of years to recover. Especially their life force, it would be difficult to recover even after thousands of years. As time continued to settle, the flames of life burned wildly in the Yellow Spring Blood Sea. Qi. Suddenly, from Su Fang's body, which was condensed in the blood water, a burst of tribulation fire spurted out. Haha, for almost 3 years, I have swallowed so much essence, elixirs, and the outside world's spirit qi. I am going to break through. After forming a seal, the Yellow Spring Blood Sea instantly turned into a human body, allowing the cauldron transformation power to continue refining the heavenly demon essence and the gluttonous devil essence. He left a young immortal to guard him and left the cauldron transformation. Peak of the 7 Tao realm of the heaven immortal realm. Now I can break through to the 8 Tao realm of the heaven immortal realm in one step. In this way, I, Su Fang, can also break through to the mystic immortal realm. Thinking of this, Su Fang sat cross-legged in the cave and began to absorb the true qi in the array formation to rush his body. Qi. In less than a month, his body was like an explosive wave of tribulation qi, and the terrifying tribulation fire was burning. Su Fang controlled the true qi in his body and began to cooperate with the tribulation fire to rush his body. The impurities in the placenta seeped out layer by layer. A third of his white hair had already turned black. Chapter 1130. It seemed that he had regained some of his vigor. Compared to the past, he was still far from being the same person. The impurities in the placenta surged out layer by layer and soon turned into dust under the tribulation fire. The tribulation fire was also weakening. Su Fang was constantly trembling, his skin alternating between white and red. He should be in the process of shattering and advancing. However, it was clear that the aura emanating from Su Fang had increased from the 7th level to the 8th level. Furthermore, it was clear that Su Fang had experienced a life or death tribulation and had paid no heed to the cost. Not only had he managed to survive, he had also broken through another step. 8 Tao Celestial Realm. Feeling the changes in his body, Su Fang's face revealed a trace of a smile and relaxation. However, when he released his sensing power, he didn't find that his vitality had recovered much. It was good that he had 1/3 of it. Even his appearance had only decreased to 30 years old, and he hadn't recovered to his peak state of a teenager. However, the changes in his body were still shocking. His meridians, bones, flesh, and blood were different from before. There were 8 Dao marks everywhere, especially the layers of flesh membrane. The perfect ability also changed, but it wasn't as clear and obvious as before when he broke through. He could sense up to 30 miles away. Under normal circumstances, he should be able to sense up to 30 miles away. This was the effect of vitality. Fortunately, the blood transformation true body and the Black Lotus true body had the same changes. Moreover, the yang power of the yin-yang Dao wheel in his body was more profound, and the speed of the world fragments was faster. There were changes, but overall, he didn't feel as strong as before after breaking through. Instead, he felt tired. Since the 8 Dao celestial realm can't recover much, I'll continue to cultivate and break through the 9 Dao celestial realm and reach the last step of the celestial realm. I don't believe that I can't recover. Even if the 9 Dao celestial realm can't, I'll break through to the mystic immortal realm and become a mystic immortal. Then, I'll be able to recover 100%. Gritting his teeth, his brows were like sharp swords. He returned to the crucible transformation realm and used the yellow spring blood sea to continue absorbing the essence of the gluttonous demons and heavenly demons. It was too shocking. While absorbing the essence, Su Fang felt much more comfortable. If he kept absorbing this power, his cultivation speed would be terrifying. After reaching a certain state where he could clearly feel the true qi and vitality in his body, Su Fang didn't have to worry about cultivation. He began to organize the treasures he obtained from the Thousand Flows ancient demon Dao. The first were the 2 most precious treasures, a rune talisman and a jade pendant. The rune talisman was the map of the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's dojo, while the jade pendant sealed the Yellow Spring reincarnation art that the Yellow Spring Great Emperor cultivated. He was not in a hurry to cultivate the Yellow Spring's reincarnation art, so he put it away first. Cultivating the Yellow Spring's blood sea was already very difficult, so he could not cultivate another profound cultivation technique. He left behind a rune and slowly injected devil qi into it. The rune talisman was left behind by Yin Qianlu and Bai Shan. Su Fang's devilish qi contained the wills of 2 ancient devils, so it didn't take long for the 2 wills to appear on the rune talisman. The rune talisman instantly released devilish qi, and it was no longer as lifeless as before. Su Fang peeled off a yang immortal and flashed into the demonic qi. The yang immortal passed through the layers of demonic qi. Suddenly, a black building that looked like a city floated in front of Su Fang. It was the outline of a city. This outline was the model of the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's dojo. Su Fang never imagined that the Devil Emperor's tomb was actually so big. The tomb suddenly appeared clearly in front of Su Fang. The entire tomb was divided into 4 levels. The 4th level was where the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's tomb was located, and the 3 outer levels were 3 terrifying tombs and traps. Each level was connected by a secret passage, forming a complex underground palace of the Devil Emperor. The size of such a tomb palace was comparable to a side peak of Huangfu's dojo. It was shocking. Too many entrances, too many traps. What do the 2 ancient devils mean? This map doesn't record a secret passage directly from the outer level of the underground palace to the 4th level of the underground palace. After looking for a while, Su Fang wanted to look for a shortcut. In the end, he was disappointed. There was no secret passage from the 1st level to the 3rd level, and there was a real secret passage at the 3rd level. It secretly led to the 4th level of the Devil Emperor's tomb. In other words, even if Su Fang got the map, he would have to pass through 3 levels of the underground palace to reach the 4th level and enter the Devil Emperor's tomb. I thought that with the map and the approval of the 2 ancient devils, I could directly enter the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor's tomb. Who knew that I would have to rely on strength to reach the Devil Emperor's tomb? Obviously, the 2 ancient devils want to continue to test me. Without strength, I can't get the Great Emperor's inheritance. He shook his head helplessly. Of course, He also understood the two ancient devils' intention. He remembered the map clearly and put it away. He couldn't let it fall into the hands of others. After forming a seal, a crucible transformation inner sealing array suddenly appeared in front of him. Inside it were most of the treasures obtained from the Thousand Flow Dojo. Among them, there were more than a dozen top-grade ancient Dao tools. There were also more than a dozen ancient spirit veins and various strange stones. There were too many treasures to count. Su Fang wanted to find a magic treasure, but after looking around, he found that fusing with a top-grade Dao tool would take a lot of effort. Moreover, there were no treasures that he wanted to take. Without a doubt, he obtained another treasure trove. If the Devil World's experts hadn't killed their way here and gotten 1/3 of the treasures, it's fine. I also killed their 2 great heavenly demons and 2 gorilla demons. The heavenly demon's corpse's storage ring is also here. Maybe there are treasures inside. He roughly understood some of the treasures left behind by the Thousand Flow Dojo. All of a sudden, he took out a few rings of holding and 2 identity medallions from the half-refined Heavenly Devil Corp. The tokens showed the identity of a Heavenly Demon cultivator. In the end, Su Fang activated them and saw that one of them was a disciple of the Heavenly Demon Mountain and the other was a disciple of the Nine-Night Demon sect. But why did they follow the Devil World? It wasn't hard to figure out that the major forces of the Devil Dao must have some connection with the Devil World. These 2 experts were strong enough to attract the attention of the Devil World through cultivation. In the end, they were able to follow the Devil World's expert. It seems that the Heavenly Demon Mountain and the Nine-Night Demon sect have long been secretly in contact with the Devil World. No wonder the Heavenly Demon said that the Devil World had already acted in the immortal Dao world. He immediately used the power of the Crucible Transformation array to refine the seals on the storage rings. After refining them, he peeled off 4 young immortals and put them into the storage rings. There were indeed a lot of treasures. First, there were a few top-grade Dao artifacts. Then, there were some cultivation techniques of the Heavenly Demon Mountain and the Nine-Night Demon sect. However, they weren't complete. The 2 experts probably didn't cultivate the cultivation techniques of the 2 major forces of the Devil Dao to the extreme, so the cultivation techniques were incomplete. 9 Nether Heaven Covering Hand. Ghost God Heavenly Demon Body Technique. After a while, Su Fang found 2 special Devil Chi seals among the many treasures. He opened them and saw that they recorded the 2 great devil techniques that even the Thousand Flow Dojo was shocked. After carefully studying them, Su Fang was very curious. The Devil Dao cultivation techniques he cultivated were all part of the Heavenly Demon Manual. The only divine ability he had was the Heavenly Demon Disintegration Seal. He was somewhat happy but also somewhat disappointed. The 9 Nether Heaven Covering Hand and the Ghost God Heavenly Demon Body Technique only had the first level. In other words, only the 2 great heavenly demons were qualified to cultivate the first level. They weren't like the man from the Devil World, who was an expert who truly mastered the 2 great techniques. However, even if it was only the first level, Su Fang still remembered the devil scriptures and had to cultivate them. At least, after cultivating them, he would understand the Devil World cultivators and the devil race better. There were too many other devil techniques. Su Fang didn't have the time to look at them one by one. He only wanted the most powerful cultivation technique. Ordinary ones were just a waste of energy. The 2 great heavenly demons should have some secrets, or the Devil World's plan of action this time. However, how could such secrets be recorded with runes? They're all hidden deep in their minds. Now that they're dead, their consciousness dissipated. They still don't know the specifics of the Devil World's action this time. He shook his head regretfully. Fortunately, he obtained a lot of treasures. This was enough for the experts under him to cultivate for many years. Qi. Suddenly, tribulation qi spurted out of his body. Su Fang came back to his senses. Because he wanted to know the secrets of the devil world too much, he forgot everything. He counted with his fingers and found that he had cultivated for about 3 years. Looking up at the heavenly demon and gorilla demon's corpses that were being refined, Su Fong decided to give the essence that was being refined to more than 30 experts under his command. This time, they were also desperately dealing with the heavenly demons. Without them, Su Fong couldn't have killed the 2 great heavenly demons. It was a miracle that he could kill one. Thank you, Master. More than 30 experts saw that Su Fong could recover at such an amazing speed in just a few years. Naturally, it was related to the essence of the gorilla demon and heavenly demon's corpses. They had long wanted it, but they couldn't say it. Fortunately, they were not disappointed. Su Fong had already thought of them. They now deeply understood that Su Fong was their spiritual support. Only when Su Fong was strong, they would be strong. He also gave a small part of the big goblin to absorb the essence. After arranging all this, Su Fong left the crucible transformation realm. He began to absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth from the spirit gathering array and consumed it in his dantian. After a few attacks, the tribulation fire suddenly exploded, crazily enveloping Su Fong and began to burn. His body also roared and vibrated. Again and again, the impurities of the placenta also gushed out. It could be seen that Su Fong's white color had recovered by 2/3, leaving only the tips and the 2 sides of his temples that were still white. The tribulation fire gradually disappeared. Su Fong's breakthrough came to an end, and the aura he gave off increased from 8 layers to 9 layers. 9 Tao realm of heavenly immortal. Great, after such a life and death tribulation, I actually stepped into the 9 Tao realm of heavenly immortal. The next step is to break through to the profound immortal realm. I'm only 1 step away from the profound immortal realm. Once I become a profound immortal, I have more confidence to fight and compete with experts like the elders. After swallowing the pills and absorbing the spiritual chi of heaven and earth, he returned to the crucible transformation realm. As a result, he saw the corpses of the heavenly demons and gorilla demons. They were about to become dry corpses, and there was only a small amount of essence left. It could be seen how amazing the energy and resources requirements of the experts under him were. After absorbing some essence, the remaining essence was left for everyone. Soon, there was a cracking sound. The corpses of the heavenly demons and gorilla demons finally shattered like bones, turning into white dust. He finally contributed to everyone. 9 Tao realm of heavenly immortal, more than half of my life force has been restored. 5 to 6 years have passed, there is not much time left. I should go find the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor Tao field. With my current cultivation, the ability to use the Yellow Spring Blood Sea, and the will of the 2 ancient devils, it should not be too troublesome to find the Devil Emperor Tao field. After leaving the Crucible Transformation realm, he took the Ghostface Rakshasa with him. He absorbed the Crucible Transformation realm into his palm and erased the array. In a flash, his speed was more than 5 or 6 times faster than the 7 Tao realm of heavenly immortal. Moreover, with the perfect ability, he could sense about 10 miles under this wasteland, and the clear range could reach up to 6 or 7 miles. The change was also very obvious. With such sensitivity, Su Fong could sense everything 1 step ahead of everyone else. Flying out of the abyss and coming to the ground, the perfect ability could not sense the aura of the 4 major forces within 30 miles, but there were many other cultivators. At this moment, he was eager to know the movements of the Earth Dragon Valley and secretly contacted Immortal Changgu. Chapter 1131. The news sent by Immortal Changgu was enough to make Su Fong feel a sense of crisis. After the Devil Realm experts found the 1,000-flow ancient Devil Tao Rite, the Devil Realm experts forcefully destroyed the Tao Rite, causing a commotion that attracted the cultivators in the vicinity of the ruins. As a result, more cultivators and forces found out about this. After the four great forces found out, they immediately sent out a large number of experts to kill their way over. A bloody slaughter unfolded inside and outside the ancient ruins of Thousand Flows. As for the masters of the demon world, they were quietly fierce. The four great influences had killed and driven away a majority of the cultivators, and this was also revealed in the Tao field. According to Immortal Long Valley's guess, the high-level figures of the four great influences had obtained some clues from the Thousand Flows' ancient demon Tao field. Combined with what they had grasped before, they had already roughly guessed where the Yellow Springs Demon Emperor's Tao field was. Unfortunately, Immortal Changgu did not have the authority to ask about the exact location. At this time, it was best not to ask. If the news was leaked, Immortal Changgu would not be able to continue as an elder. He could only rely on his own senses. Fortunately, he obtained the two ancient demon Tao fields and more of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's power. He should be able to find something soon after using the life shrinking technique. He contacted the second primordial spirit. It turned out that the second primordial spirit was around the Earth Dragon Valley and used the ruins to kill Huangfu. At this time, a higher-up was naturally not as important as the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Tao field. The second primordial spirit was about to rush over, but Su Fang thought that if the four major forces really reached the Devil Emperor's Tao field first, the second primordial spirit might be useful. He let it continue to control the Huangfu Cloud Sea and wait for the next step. After a while, Su Fang came to the peak of a mountain in the depths of a forest. Su Fang released the 30-plus experts and activated the sensing array formation. Then, he led the 30-plus experts and sat cross-legged inside the array formation. Deep in the mountainside of Tsang Mountain, Su Fang absorbed everyone's arcane energy and true qi. He used the Yellow Springs Devil Monarch, Yin Qianlu, and Baishan Ancient Devil's Aura as the source to activate the Tianji life shrinking art. Even if Su Fang stepped into the ninth heavenly immortal realm, he could only sense the life-shrinking technique from dozens of miles away. However, by absorbing everyone's energy and activating the Heaven Secret life-shrinking art together, Su Fang could sense 10 times the distance. He could even use the Heaven Secret life-shrinking art to capture the aura of hundreds of miles of desolate land. This was incredible. Immediately, the Tao runes of the heavenly secret life shrinking technique started to stir in Su Fang's mind. At first, it was just a little bit, but later on, it grew in waves. These movements did not come from the aura of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo, but from the aura of the disciples of the four major forces. Among the Tao runes, there were even some clear silhouettes of figures. For example, Huangfu Fei, Chou Yun, Tong Yu, and other special disciples. There was also the aura of proud Heaven Changhen, Long Valley Immortal, and Heavenly Master Luan. Even Master Luan was here. Then, there were also some auras of Yen Sinshin, Fairy Xuanxin, Gu Huajun, and others. He sensed more than 100,000 cultivators' auras, and almost all of them were around the Earth Dragon Valley. It seemed that the Earth Dragon Valley was the reason why so many cultivators had gathered in this hundreds of miles of wasteland. Buzz. This lasted for more than 2 hours. However, he still did not sense the aura that he was looking for. Just as he was about to end the search and travel several hundred li away to continue using the life-shrinking art, he suddenly caught a familiar aura. When Su Fang focused all his senses on this aura, a fat cultivator appeared in the Tao runes in his mind. It was obvious that it was the monk Shangda. Moreover, there was another familiar aura coming from this person, which was similar to the power of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. It was obvious that it was the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's bottle. I just went through a life-and-death battle and lost several Dharma treasures. I shouldn't look for trouble. However, the monk Shangda has the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's bottle, which is the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's Dharma treasure. I should see what this person is doing. Maybe I can find something and suppress him. He did not find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo, but he found the monk Shangda. He put all the experts back into the Dharma treasure space, and used the amazing flying speed brought by the 9-heaven immortal Tao realm. He stepped on his flying sword and flew towards the vicinity of the Earth Dragon Valley. In less than half an hour, there was still a dangerous forest dozens of li away from the Earth Dragon Valley. Su Fang stepped out of the star fog and used the Great Circle of Perfection to sense again. He accurately sensed that the monk Shangda was in a forest about 10 li away. He was not alone, there was another expert. When he sensed this expert, he suddenly felt an aura that was slightly similar to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's aura. Could this person be? He immediately used the life-shrinking technique and merged it with the Great Circle of Perfection ability. He passed through countless giant trees and saw the monk Shangda and a middle-aged man in black leaving the Earth Dragon Valley quickly. The man in black indeed had an aura related to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. Moreover, the great monk Shangda no longer concealed himself and showed his true face. This person's body was plump and his body was somewhat stocky. Perhaps he had gotten too much money. He also had a fat head and big ears, and a shiny bald head. As for the man in black beside him, he looked gloomy. His hooked nose and single eyelids formed a murderous look. It was obvious that he was not a good person. The two of them were still moving at a normal speed and gradually left the forest. It was too abnormal for both of them to have the aura of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor. Su Fang hid his aura and secretly followed them from about 10 li away. His cultivation base had increased by 2 levels, and the 9-heaven immortal Tao realm cultivator could hide his aura more ingeniously. No matter how powerful the monk Shangda was now, he could not easily hide the aura on Su Fang now. They kept leaving the Earth Dragon Valley. 100 li away, the two experts were still moving through the star fog. About 1,000 li away, in a wetland mountain range, the two experts slowed down. There are so many auras of experts. About 10 li away, the moisture and star fog merged into the void. Su Fang, who was standing on his flying sword, sucked it into his palm. The Great Perfection stage ability could lock onto the two experts. At the same time, he also discovered that there were at least 20 auras of experts coming from the depths of the world of moisture ahead. He continued to follow them. When he entered the periphery of the mountain range, Su Fang felt a lot of weak devil aura similar to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's aura seeping out from the auras of experts. This kind of aura could only be detected by the Great Perfection stage ability combined with the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique. Ordinary experts would not be able to detect this kind of devil aura with their senses. On the other hand, Su Fang had already obtained the power of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor, so he had the advantage of sensing. The monk Shangda is a shrewd old man. I thought that he and the man in black wanted to cooperate to find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo. I didn't expect so many experts to gather together. It seems like they want to work together to find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo. His eyes flickered with shrewdness. He seemed to know why this group of people had gathered together. He summoned the Wooling Goblin and entered it. The Wooling Goblin used the natural earth spirit chi to slowly traverse the mountain peaks along the ground. After about a dozen mountain peaks, there was a canyon ahead. There was also a slight abyssal airflow in the canyon. It seemed like this was also a dangerous place, but it was not indicated on the map. The group of experts was not in the abyss, but in a cave near the canyon. The Wooling Goblin arrived at a group of rocks about 3 to 4 li away. At this moment, Su Fang released his Great Perfection stage ability again. It would have been better if he did not look. He actually saw through the star fog and airflow. He saw that there were more than 30 experts gathered in a few caves. Each of them had the strength of an elder. At this moment, they were all gathered in a central cave. Although there was a formation outside, it could not stop the great perfection stage ability from penetrating. The dozens of experts seemed to have gathered together because of the return of Monk Shangde and the black-robed man. These people spoke. It turned out that the purpose of these people gathering was as Su Fong expected. They wanted to use the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's tokens or magic treasures in their hands to jointly activate the heaven and earth sensing technique to find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo in this wasteland. They had been doing this for decades. When the four major forces held their joint training, some of them had already joined forces to find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo. As for Monk Shangde and the black-robed man, they went to the Earth Dragon Valley to inquire about the latest news. They also seemed to have grasped something. They discussed for a while and suddenly mentioned a dangerous place, the Sinkhole Abyss. It turned out that they had been to many dangerous places during this period of time, and they had discovered some ancient demonic chi in all of them. However, only the Sinkhole Abyss had demonic chi that was the most similar to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's tokens. Previously, only a few of these people were working together. Later on, more and more people joined, forming the current scale. With so many experts in the Sinkhole Abyss, there was a 50 to 60% chance that the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo was there. In the next moment, in less than an hour, these people unexpectedly removed the formation and left this dangerous place together. According to the map, the direction they left was the Sinkhole Abyss. In the Huangze astral realm, there were several huge wastelands. The Sinkhole Abyss was one of them. Su Fong had never been there because the Sinkhole Abyss was behind the Huangze astral realm. It was almost beyond the balance of the Xianao Great World and the Yuanlu Great World. The Phoenix Valley was in the middle, and the other larger wastelands were almost all in the central area. Only the Sinkhole Abyss was deep behind. Su Fong wanted to rush to the Sinkhole Abyss first, but after thinking about it, he realized that these people were all experts of the current era. They were very capable, and with the heaven and earth sensing technique, they might be able to find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo before him. Anyway, he had a deep understanding of the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo. Going in first was not enough to get the inheritance of the great emperor. There were 3 layers of traps waiting for all the cultivators to go through. A full half a year. They were about to reach the Sinkhole Abyss. Because under the star fog, there were always some sinkholes that looked like wells in the forest or mountains. It was like a monster hibernating under the ground with its eyes open. Master. Immortal Changgu also transmitted his voice. It was good news for Su Fong. The elders of the constellation of 9 heavens and some special disciples had all received the news that they were going to the Sinkhole Abyss. Obviously, the 4 major forces had also confirmed that the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo was in the Sinkhole Abyss. This news was both expected and unexpected by Su Fong. Since the Thousand Flows dojo had been discovered, then the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo would naturally surface gradually. He contacted the second primordial spirit. Even with the host Huang Fu Yunhai's identity, he still had not received the news. It seemed that the 4 major forces wanted to send their experts to the Sinkhole Abyss to explore first. Huff, huff, huff. At this time, more than 30 experts in front of him jumped to the ground. A very shocking sinkhole was located in the depths of the mountains and forests. It was dark and gloomy, and one would think that it was a sea of trees. After they landed, they began to create a formation at the edge of the sinkhole. Everyone was forming hand seals and urging their true chi and magic power together. Obviously, they wanted to sense the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo. When Su Fong came to the sea of trees a few miles away and used his wood element ability to fuse with the giant trees, he felt a slightly strong demonic chi similar to the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's slowly permeating from the formation. I will also sense it. Since he had come to the Sinkhole Abyss, he had to rely on himself to find the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's dojo. He still used the Heaven's Secret Life shrinking technique and used the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's demonic chi as the source to gradually settle down. Unfortunately, after half an incense stick's time, there was still no sign of it. When it was quiet, he found that the dozens of experts also did not have the slightest harvest. However, the old man treated this person with such respect. It seemed that the bronze-masked cultivator's origin was not simple. Most importantly, the old man mentioned the Heavenly Tao Immortal Realm. The Heavenly Tao Immortal Realm was also a harsh word for Su Fang because Huang Lingyao, Seven-Star Child, Xing Chongxing, and his Violet Cloud Law Spirit were all there. The bronze-masked man slowed down and said, "The person from the Heaven Tao Immortal Realm is the third son of the Tian Ong Immortal Emperor, Long Xiaojun. Young Lord Long is the most talented of the 3 sons of Immortal Emperor Tian Ong. He's also one of the 10 young nobles, which shows how amazing his talents are." The old man raised his eyebrows. It seemed that he knew the immortal Ao Great World very well. He was most likely an expert from the immortal Ao Great World. Young Lord Long is indeed young and talented. He also secretly brought several powerful people. The Heavenly Tao Immortal Realm also wants to get the inheritance of the Yellow Spring Devil Emperor from the 4 great powers. "Brother Yen, if we meet young Lord Long, won't we fight?" "Ha ha!" The bronze-masked man suddenly snorted, revealing a kind of courage not to be seen by other experts. What an arrogant expert! After hearing this, Su Fang saw the bronze-masked man's proud face and wondered, "I thought that this person was also an expert from the Heavenly Tao Immortal Realm, but he's not." Moreover, the old man's tone clearly shows that this bronze-masked man has a grudge with the Heavenly Tao Immortal Realm. Sure enough, the bronze-masked man sneered, "You mean I'm afraid of the Heavenly Tao Immortal Realm?" "No, no, Brother Yen. How can the Tranquility Emperor Mansion be afraid of the Heavenly Tao Immortal Realm?" The old man shuddered and seemed to realize something. Tranquility Emperor Mansion. Su Fang, who had merged with the branch of a big tree and turned into the same color as the tree, couldn't help but tremble. Fortunately, his wood power had transformed to the point where he could use it at will. Otherwise, this time he would have made a scene. Su Fang secretly thought, "It turns out that the bronze-masked man is from the Tranquility Emperor Mansion. The Tranquility Emperor Mansion is the Tranquility Emperor Mansion. They sent people to secretly look for me. It's really a small world. I haven't figured out why the Tranquility Emperor Mansion is looking for me, and this time I've met an expert of the Tranquility Emperor Mansion. If possible, I'll use all means to suppress this person." On the other hand, he was very curious about why the Tranquility Emperor Mansion and the Heavenly Tao Immortal Realm were enemies. They were both great powers in the Xianao Great World, and it should be said that they had a good relationship. One was the great power behind the Heavenly Tao White Sun sect, and the other was even more mysterious. By then, the cultivators would know that the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor was in the sinkhole abyss. The 4 major forces would not be able to stop the ambitions of those cultivators. Whoosh! Suddenly, the devil who was secretly following one of the experts left first, leaving behind another devil who was still secretly following him. Wuling Goblin continued to secretly follow them. "Pay attention to the demon. I will follow that demon." As Su Fang's eyes lit up, he quietly escaped from the Wuling Goblin's mouth. The Wuling Goblin continued to shuttle above the cliff with the stone belt, silently. As for Su Fang, he activated the life-shrinking technique and hid his aura to the extreme. Without a natural hiding place for the Wuling Goblin, Su Fang could only rely on his own ability to follow the demon. The demon flew toward the other side of the abyss. Su Fang maintained a distance of 15 miles. He believed that with the demon's ability, it would be impossible for it to sense such a great distance in the abyss wasteland. He also knew that if he went past this distance, it would be difficult for him to sense the other party's traces. The demon was very fast and soon arrived at a deeper abyss 100 miles away. Moreover, it flew directly toward the sinkhole abyss in an almost straight line. It also entered the surrounding abyss several times to guard against being followed from behind. It wasn't until another 2 hours passed that the demon slowed down. At the same time, Su Fang also sensed dozens of demon chi coming from the star fog below. Immortal Changgu seemed to answer decisively, but on the other side, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Outer space, forbidden land of life. Why do I have a strong feeling that the Yellow Springs Demon Emperor's dojo is in the outer space? With the strength and ability of the two ancient demons back then, they naturally wouldn't easily place the Demon Emperor's mausoleum in the Huangzi astral realm. It's unlikely that they would place it in the outer space. A strong feeling suddenly burned in his heart. He continued to secretly follow the experts of the demon world. During this period, some experts of the demon Dao joined in. It seemed that the demon world had also made sufficient preparations this time. After a while, the Great Perfection Stage ability could easily sense the aura of the four major forces. It seemed that a large number of experts of the four major forces had already come to the sinkhole abyss. At the same time, the Wuling Goblin also sent news that the great monk Shangde and the experts of the Tranquil Emperor's mansion were approaching an abyss with abnormally terrifying airflow. The abyss gradually became void of matter, but was engulfed by the terrifying airflow. In the depths of the abyss, there should be a passage leading to the outer space. Obviously, the more than 30 experts were also sure that the Demon Emperor's dojo was also in the outer space. At this time, the Su Fang also appeared. This group of experts of the demon world were also approaching the Wuling Goblin's abyss. Obviously, the passage leading to the outer space of the Demon Emperor's dojo was not everywhere. The desolate swamp astral world was an astonishing wasteland. Beneath the wasteland there were many large and small extraterritorial spaces, and the Yellow Springs Demon Emperor's dojo could only be in one of these extraterritorial spaces. Therefore, there were definitely not many natural passages connecting this extraterritorial space. If more than 30 experts found one, it seemed that the experts of the demon world would also find one nearby. Master, more than 30 experts have been continuously engulfed by the airflow into the outer space. What should I do? After nearly half a month, the Wuling Goblin sent a panicked thought. Come and join me as soon as possible. You don't have to secretly monitor those people anymore, Su Fang responded. At this time, looking around, this place was only about 20 miles away from the Wuling Goblin. In the abyss below, before Su Fang could sense the dozens of experts of the demon world, there was suddenly a movement of the divine life shrinking technique. A wave of demon chi similar to the Yellow Springs Demon Emperor's came from the depths of this abyss. Along with the airflow, it began to flow into the abyss above. The Yellow Springs Demon Emperor's dojo was indeed in the outer space under the wasteland. However, the experts of the demon world seemed to have also sensed it. But unlike those experts, they did not rush into the outer space. Instead, they waited and continued to sense. The Wuling Goblin's voice came again. Master, there are several hundred more experts. It seems that they are the subordinates of the previous experts. They sensed the aura of those experts left in the abyss and entered the outer space one by one. Let them go in first. You hide well. Come here and don't be discovered. Several hundred people clearly, those were the experts that the 30 experts had brought with them. It was likely that there were more. For example, the tranquil emperor's residence could not only have one expert surnamed Yin. There must be other experts secretly searching for the aura he left behind and sneaking into the outer space to seize the demon emperor's dojo. As he expected, it didn't take long for some cultivators to enter the outer space one after another. It seemed that for the inheritance of the demon emperor, too many cultivators were afraid of taking the risk and entering the outer space. What surprised Su Fang even more was that some experts of the 4 great powers also appeared in the outer space. Clearly, the 4 great powers had also come. Whoosh, whoosh. The experts of the demon world finally jumped into the surging airflow from this abyss. In just a few breaths, they completely lost their aura. It seemed that they were also swept into the outer space by the airflow. Su Fang met up with the Wuling Goblin and also flew into the surging waves of the airflow. Just as he was about to enter the airflow, he suddenly sensed the aura of some cultivators and experts of the 4 great powers above him. So fast. There were still many capable cultivators in this big world. Whoosh, whoosh. As soon as he entered the airflow, it was difficult for him to resist the power of the turbulent space. His defense was constantly broken. Su Fang immediately put on an immortal robe. This was much better. Otherwise, his body would soon be torn into pieces by the turbulent airflow. He was just able to protect himself, but he didn't realize that a sense of weightlessness suddenly intensified with the airflow. Everything in front of him disappeared, leaving only the crazy weightlessness and the fear of falling. At this moment, his heart seemed to be about to spurt out from his throat. Boom! After about 2 breaths of time, he suddenly couldn't feel the airflow, but his body was still weightless. Without giving him any time to prepare, he fell into the stone forest like a cannonball, the impact causing the surrounding rocks to shatter into dust. The outer space. He spat out a mouthful of blood. Ignoring his injuries, he sat up and looked around. Around him was the familiar silence and silence. There was also a haze of floating dust. There was also a very thin spirit chi. It must be the outer space. Buzz, buzz. Suddenly, Dao runes with the Yellow Springs Devil Emperor's aura surged in his mind.